Sam, I'm good. All right. Good evening. It is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. It is 6:01 p.m. This is day 3 of the Binghamton City Council budget hearings reviewing the proposed 2025 budgets. City Council is convened as a committee of the whole. I am Robert Kavanaugh, the finance chair. I will chair this meeting. This evening, we'll be reviewing the police department, Gulf Fund, Water Fund, Sewer Fund, and Mayor's Office budgets. Would we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Here.
Excuse me. Council President Matavetsky.
Present.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Present.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Present.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to open pages 54 through 65, 66, 73, 75, and for now, and then we'll do the capital improvements and fee schedule later. Welcome Chief Sikorsky and Comptroller Chuck Robinson to present. Chief, would you like to give us an overview, please?
Excuse me?
Would you like to give us an overview, please?
Well, the overview is basically, we only ask for what we need. And, we added some stuff, we've taken some stuff out, and keep the budget, affordable and provide the same service or better that we've been providing for years. He said it was, is it? All right, how's that? All right, let me move it over here. Can't see that far if it's too far away. So, we go through it, all the departments. Each unit, I have them come in, they submit a budget, I go over it with them, why you need this, why you don't need that. And then we come up with a budget presented to the controller in the mayor's office.
We're starting with page 54. Personnel services takes up this whole chunk. Anything you'd like to say about that, or do we have any questions from the floor?
We're budgeted at 145. We're currently at 127. Nothing's really changed. Everything you're seeing here is contractual.
Anyone? So we had, I think in the budget last year, there was a total of kind of chunked out over the year. They're spread out over the year, say 27 probationary positions to be hired. How many did we actually hire last year?
This
Okay.
year, the academy
Well,
started
2024,
March.
yes, in this budget year, sorry. Yeah.
We ended up at the academy. They just came out for field training. Currently, there's 15 of them.
So 15. So are you think we will be up 15 and then minus retirements? So what are we netting? do we think?
Right now, we're down 18. So we're hopeful. The test was just given a week ago, and we're hoping to go to full staff, provide a lot of services that we're unable to provide now, being short-staffed. It's hard to do community policing. It's very difficult to have walk-in men downtown during business hours and at night. The men are being forced to do mandatory overtime, so they're working 12-hour shifts. They can't get the days off. The December's coming. They have all these days they can't use. And fatigue, I don't have to tell anybody in this room, could cause problems when officers are fatigued. They're not as alert as they are. They might be a little on edge. There's days we're so short, there's school crossings. There might be 8 police officers working on a day shift and 7 of them were on school crossings, leaving us 1 police officer to answer calls in the city. So
yeah, we'll get there on the next page, talk about that a little bit. So you have in this year's budget, hiring 17 probationary officers in March of next year. That would bring you up to full staffing.
it would.
And what are the chances?
Well, we hope very, very good. We hope we have candidate pool of at least 50, 60, maybe more 70. Then you give it a agility test and it's hit or miss who passes that, who doesn't. And then of course we start our interviews and do the background. I'm hopeful we can fill all of them.
Okay. The one other vacancy that's in here is the discovery officer, and I know we have discussed that, and there's a grant for that and all that, but could you just give me the,
Well, discoveries, the new legislation, the state legislature passed. I'm still got to get with civil service. We got to come up with a title and a salary. It says 50,000, but the grant it could be whatever we set it at, up to 50,000. So we will have to post it. People are going to have to apply. The DA, I think I mentioned to you when I said last time, has already been guaranteed. There'll be another year after this. So there's 2 years guaranteed for that position with both the pay and the fringe benefits.
all right, that's, so the title officer's name, but they are not a law enforcement officer. They are an administrative.
My
person.
plan is to make an administrative person.
Okay.
Yes, management tested.
And I guess the only other, just I'm not entirely sure how it works, but there's a lump sum in here for salary grade adjustments. Is that something that happens through the course of the year as people are promoted, or what's the?
Well, you want to answer Chuck, or I can? Chuck, I know the answer. I'll let Chuck answer it. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yes, that's correct. It's for salary grades when they get promoted. We subtract out that number from their salary.
And I
Well-
trust that you've crunched that based on who's likely to be moving up this year and come up with that number, or?
Let me answer this. Let me answer.
Right, sure.
Cops start out at probationary, then they go to grade 5, grade 4. That date's set in stone by contract. So like this March, the cops that got hired in March that are in the academy right now will go to grade 5. That's salary adjustments to move them from probationary to grade 5. So we know exactly when that is. So it's not a guess me number. It's not promotions like the sergeant to lieutenant to captain. It's patrolman grade to grade to grade. So that number's, we know what it is. It's not a guess number.
And I guess longevity is also contractually based.
Contractual.
Yes, of course. All right. Anyone else?
I'm curious about the retainment aspect. So, I guess you, probably the mayor, HR, sit through meetings as we've had officers move to other departments.
Mhm.
I guess I'm curious what the key issues have been and how much of it is what you've already talked about, the overtime and those issues, or if there's other issues and how we're addressing them to make sure we actually get to full.
Well, I guess first of all, it's the times these police officers young move around from place to place. We're currently just hired 2 laterals, came from other departments. And October 12th, we're hiring another one. So they move around. And there's a lot of reasons. It was the pay, the mayor adjusted that. We answer half the calls in the county more than all the other agencies put together. I don't have to tell you, this is the most dangerous place in the county to work. We've had 2 homicides in 3 days, 3 shootings in 8 days. So some of them just get out for that reason. I heard a guy who left recently, went to another municipality I won't name, and said, I'm just going to go write tickets and that's what I'm going to do. They don't want to work. So you come here, you got to work. You want to be a police officer, you come to Binghamton. So some guys leave, they don't want to work. Some leave to go to the state police, I will mention, because the salary's so much higher. And a lot of them say, I'm leaving. I like it here, but I'm going to make $20,000 more a year. So there's a lot of reasons. The mayor's did everything he's could. And that we've worked together. We never allowed tattoos. We never allowed beards, and that sort of thing around the country. Everybody's got their opinion. And so if it's going to help retain officers, I've been on it. I dug in my heels for a little bit, but I came off that. The mayor upped the salary. So there's a lot of things we're trying to do, to keep them, they want this, they want that, and, the little things they ask for, they retain them, so we're doing various things we do, but you can look around the country, there's departments that are down 800 men. It's not just Binghamton, it's all over the country. It's hard to retain officers. After the George Floyd incident and stuff, let's face it, nobody wanted to be a cop. And I think that's coming back. I think that, there's more and more people that now, want to enter this profession. So I think it's starting to come sway back the way it was, but that's to be seen.
From my conversations, management and culture have come up with officers. So I don't know if people are saying that to you or if that's just
I
But-
guess I don't know what you're talking about. There, you're always gonna have complainers. There's no doubt. I've been to conferences and I always say this. They said 25% of your people will go to the mats and die for you. 25% hate you because you're the chief and the management. The other 50 is the people you try to keep happy. And I learned that at a huge conference there for chiefs and stuff. So that's, so you're always gonna have people complaining and you're always gonna have people that everything's always great. So, it's sort of the philosophy that, you try to keep the 50% in the middle, but you can't give them everything they want, Um, so I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about it, but, every chief has naysayers and he has, people otherwise. So,
Moving to page 55.
Uh,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
if you don't mind.
No, no, no.
So, earlier this year, we had allocated a lot of funds to, not allocated funds, but we shifted funds to accommodate for the salary adjustments that are on page 117. I think the bulk of that came from vacancies from the police department. And seeing that those positions are filled, and I assume most of them will be retained. I'm curious, this might be more of a comptroller question, but what's the plan to fill the salary adjustments hole, which is $943,000 in 2025? If the bulk of that won't come out of police salaries from vacant positions.
What page are we discussing that we're, Doing the
Well,
salary
I
line.
think it's related. So
it's.
we're on page, right now we're on page 54, but on page 117, you have the salary adjustments. Which is budgeted at $943,683. And earlier this year, so for the 2024 budget, we had filled most of that or all of that with the salaries that were not paid out to officers because those positions were vacant.
So if I could, I don't know if I'm fully understanding the question, but just to be clear, we know that we're going into January 25, still down 20 officers despite the 14 recruits that are coming on. So I believe that's correct, or the 14 or 15 recruits.
17, I thought.
I think we're down
Now
to
it's down.
15.
You're down 17.
right now, 17, yeah, 18.
18.
We have we're budget 145. We currently have 127.
Okay.
So we have to keep those positions funded because there'll be another police test next year, and that process will start over, where we're hoping to get the full slate of recruits to basically bring us up to full staffing. But I think the number that you're referring to, like, we are accounting for the fact that there will be vacancies next year through a certain point.
Right. So, and that's confusing. So if we had around 30 vacant positions and then we're covering half of them, how is this number still the same? Shouldn't it be reduced in half? If there's that many less vacancies?
So we know we're going into January with about 20, down 18 or 20 because of retirements, and like there are certain projections that we're aware of. Is that what you're asking?
But,
No,
and
it's-
also to add to it too, we used up that 900,000 by July. And the police is only a portion of that 900,000. It's a lot police and fire, but it's all of the vacant positions. It's not just police and fire, although that is a big chunk of it. So the fact that we were able to use it up in July this year means that we were able to do it in half a year. So even if there is less officers, we still have all year to do it. We were able to do it as of July. So that's another piece.
Okay.
Fire budget, all right, because that.
It just seems strange to me that we're getting more positions. We're filling more positions that were previously vacant, but this number is staying exactly the same except for 56 cents. So maybe it's, I don't know how, completely understand how we budget for that line, but I thought it was confusing when we were doing that earlier this year. But we can move on, I guess.
So I think the point is that there's going to be a lot more money that can be consolidated between when we consolidated in July and January. It means there's money floating around right now. Just, Yeah.
Where it is, no.
So yeah, essentially what that negative 900,000 does is it unfunds vacant positions. And it can't be tied to a certain position because we don't know which ones will be vacant next year. We just know that it seems unfair to tax the taxpayer on $1 million when every year we have at least that much in vacant positions. So we're trying to not tax the taxpayers for positions that we know we're not going to fill. All it's doing is unfunding what we have in the budget.
Or like that we know we are not going to have filled the whole of 2025. So while we're trying to hire them and while we're trying to fill the positions, we anticipate there will be time when they're vacant as we're trying to hire.
And I don't know if I was clear when I meant we used it up through July, but essentially this year we could have 1.8 million there and we would still be able to use it because half the year, maybe not 1.8, but because half the year we were able to use it. So it could have been up to 1.2, 1.3, and we would have used it with vacant positions. So the fact that there's less police, I wasn't sure if that made it more clear, more confusing. It's just unfunding positions because we know there'll be vacancies.
their estimate was off last year and we had more vacancies than was put into the budget.
Yes,
So there is
thank
extra
you.
money floating around from last year. They're expecting that it's not going to be as over, that there's not going to be as many not going to be as many unfunded positions this coming year as ended up being last year.
Okay, thank you.
That's right.
We turn to page 55.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I had
nope, go
I
ahead.
had one more
Sorry.
question. I just wanted to know, in personal services, the Director of Communication Outreach and Recruitment, it's, you don't have anybody for that job at this moment?
We don't. We had a person doing it. He moved on. So actually, we have a person doing it. We have a sworn police officer among his duties. Lieutenant Flanders is filled in that role.
Seen him out tabling many a time.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of sort of community duties, the SROs are also out of your this general number of officers, correct?
They are. The total, yes.
Further questions on 54 right now? Okay, 55. You mentioned school guards earlier, and we've had a significant problem getting folks to take those positions and actually show up. So the
Correct.
pay is increased, and I understand there's also a
$100 bonus if they work all 10 days in the pay period.
Mhm.
So far, it's worked. One pay period. But
oh, this just got kicked into
Yeah.
happening? Okay.
just went into play. Yep, just went into play. So the last pay period, there was 8 days. They all showed up like 8 days, almost all, not all of them, but most of them.
All right.
So right now we have every corner covered with a few extras. So when they call in sick, but it's weather driven. When winter comes, it's really cold. We could get 6, 7, 8, 10 call in, then police officers have to cover. That's why we're so stretched thin with manpower. The reliefs are down. The contractual minimum, how many people we put on the street every shift is by contract. So that pulls from when we don't have these officers, these vacant positions, we're covering school crossings instead of doing what they're supposed to be doing.
And if I saw on social media correctly, we're actively recruiting right now for,
Year
Guard?
round we do.
yes.
We never stop because we all.
For those following along at home, you want to be a school guard, you could be a part of this budget line.
So then jumping down to the field training officer pay, is $63,000 budgeted this year. Only 4,000 been used. I'm assuming with those new
It just
probationary
started.
officers
They
hitting.
just- it started last Monday.
Right.
Start paying them.
All right. So
because
these are
the first-
essentially mentor. This is a stipend for mentoring essentially. Is that?
It's required by the state. Part of being certified a police officer, you have to do 6 weeks of field training. The field training officer's got to be take a course certified by the state. So the rookies just came out last Monday. There's 14 and then there was 15, a guy we hired. So they're currently riding. So this money is just kicking in right this pay period coming up.
So then the budget amount next year is going to sort of match the amount you
It'd
expect
be
to get.
close. Yep, should be close. Hopefully we hire that many people, it'd be about the same.
Okay. And then my last thing on this particular page is the overtime line. This budget was run September 13th, and you were very close to the budget amount for 2024. Am I
You're correct.
getting a
Well,
Karnak the Magnificent thing here about an RL coming in the future?
First thing I'll say, I've never gone over my overtime budget, and this is gonna be the first time probably ever gone over. Actually, my overtime money's been used to balance other departments' budgets at the end of the year, just saying. But we're looking at it now. You know, where the money went, we're looking at months to see, just double checking. There may be some issues with some grant reimbursement hasn't been moved over yet, you know, so it has been charged on the overtime budget, but it hasn't been moved back over from the grant. We're looking into that. But you're correct. You know, when I was watching that figure and it was a little, you know, because we about average out. And you know, if we've taken it, you know, like homicides right now, we've had 2 in 3 days. The overtime in the last, my guys are working around the clock practically, the detectives. So that's going to hit it again. So it depends on what happens throughout the year. So we sort of, when I do it, I try to take an average of 3 to 5 years, you know, okay, how much we use this year, but you can't never count on, you know, if you're going to have 5 homicides, which we never have, but we've had 3 or 4. So that number sort of fluctuates. It's not really, it's a guess, but I'm sort of average out and see what happens. But, you know, sometimes we're going to see what's coming back to bite us right now, or me, and see if there is some money that hasn't been moved over from a grant line. And see, you know, just see, plus the manpower. We're mandating every shift. There's overtime every shift because of the contractual minimum. There's every shift there's overtime, and so we got killed the last 2-3 months on that.
So you have budgeted an increase for next year of about $55,000, but we will have the 15 new officers on. Is that going to help alleviate things?
I don't
To
think
some degree?
part of that increase is the increase in salary that the corp, you know, these guys
Mhm.
took into effect. But you know, what we use, okay, here's the salaries increase, so the hourly rate for overtime is gonna go up. You know, that should cut it, like say we are, right now, I think we're 23% over the budget, the overtime budget, I think I last looked. So obviously that would help, but you just don't know. That's why we go with the averages. Do we have 2 shootings next year? Or, you know, we have people go out on, you know, FMLA is a big thing now. We have people taking 6 weeks at a crack. You know, a month ago, we had 3 people on the same shift off for 4 to 6 weeks. So that's all overtime we got to hire. So, you know, are you saying could that line be reduced? No, no, we'd really be rolling the dice if we cut that number.
I know that your officers are constantly stressed with the schedule, with the understaffing. Is there any changes to types of scheduling that the department does that might be more?
It's
Conducive.
contractual. It's contractual. There's, you know, I would never go along with 12-hour shifts. I think I just talked about that. I think that fatigues an officer. They make mistakes. They might get hurt, blah, 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 blah. There's a 10-hour shift, but you need more supervisors. And, you know, in the past, the unions brought it up and I put it on them. If you propose it to us, the mayor and I are open to it. You know, and there's some, you know, but it's a rotational day. So they would actually work less days, and in past council, that's always been an issue. Okay, you're making the same amount of money, but you're working less days. But it's not days, it's hours.
Hours,
So,
right?
but some people didn't get. What we work now is contractual. It's been that way for decades, that, permanent shifts, permanent days off. It's been that way, I want to say, since 1983. So it's a union thing. If they propose something to us, they're changing it. But if we have the manpower that we need, it's not an issue. I just started mandating cops for years, maybe 3. We never did it ever, but we've been so short the last few years. We gotta fill the street, protect the community. So this mandating, just other departments have been doing it for years. We did it for maybe 3 years ago. So if these positions we can get filled, it's going to open up a lot of things. They won't be being mandated. They'll be able to get time off. Which is a morale issue also. They can't get,
Obviously.
you were talking about, which management's a morale issue, that they can't get time off. They can't get their vacation, or they want to go to a wedding, they can't get off. So there's a lot of things I think most of you understand that come into play when you do things like this.
There-
Pardon. Oh, I was gonna say, much of this overtime is reimbursed through grants as well. So it's in the state aid portion of the general fund revenue budget.
I was wondering if there's any non-officer stuff that can be done by non-officers that would lessen their plate. There's any,
Not really.
Discussions of-
We've already did that. There used to be 2 cops and records. It's all civilians now. We've moved those positions out years ago. It used to be a sergeant and patrolman assigned to records. We moved them out on the street. I don't really think there's much that a civilian could do. As I said, what we thought we could, the big one was records, a sergeant and a patrolman, and there were still civilians in there, but we moved them all out. It's all civilians now. So that was the big one. The community outreach, Chuck, what he was doing, and now Flanders is doing it among his duties, but it's not slacking. You see him all over, so we're getting the job done. He's doing a little more work, but we're getting it done.
Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
On page 56 for equipment, we had budgeted about 75,000 for 2024, and we're at 217 was the adjusted budget. Where did that big fluctuation come from?
Well, every year, the biggest one is every 5 years, a bulletproof vest got to be replaced. That number fluctuates. It could be 5 one year, 10 the next, 12. Next year, it's 33. We get reimbursed half from the federal government. We have to pay it out of pocket, and I'm sure the half is in the revenue line. So that's 33 times $1,000. So that's $33,000. This year, I think we had 16 or 17. It just depends when people retire, when they don't, because the same number of people don't get hired every year. So like when this group right now that we just hired, these 15 or 14 we had in the academy, 5 years from now, it'll be 14, but there might be some other people. So, that's significant increases. That's $33,000. That wasn't, most of that wasn't there last year in the equipment line.
I think what the councilman was asking, what was it was roughly 75,000 last year, and we adjusted to 217. Was there a big item or a grant item or something that got thrown in there
I don't know.
this year?
For 2024.
For 2024, yeah, there was 75,000 and change budgeted, and we adjusted to 217. So is there a big thing? Okay, so we'll put it in the question, and we'll come back to that. So then I think the allotment for the 33, 43, about 51 vests probably accounts for the difference between the 75 and 89 from last year to this year. Kind of organic difference.
Right.
But and we'll figure out what this big chunk was that was spent. Let's see. I think I'd asked about the tire changer already. So the mechanic moved back into City Hall, and so he wants his own
He's not
tire.
back yet. Well, we,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so we're still, we bought, he needs a tire changer and a tire balance. One was 14,000, this one's 9,800. So that's what that, we need certain downstairs at the motor pool.
Okay. And is there we're buying a shield that's riffle rated or rifle rated?
Rifle rated.
Rifle
You
rated.
know,
All right, riffle is
They're expensive, and as
Extreme bad.
rifle, and you know, the big thing is the AR-4 or ARs. The standard shield does not stop that. An AR's round, which there's many of them out there on the street. First that, so that's a rifle. You know,
is this a new thing or we're adding one more or they wear out or?
we just bought a couple smaller ones. This is your one for the SWAT team. So no, we just had a couple recently rifle rated shields. We should have did this before this even. And they fluctuate. You could pay $20,000 for one if you want. We shopped around, thought what we needed or what was going to protect our guys.
The SWAT team is, has members from the different area
Our
departments.
team's made up of Binghamton, Johnson City,
Yeah.
and Vestal.
Do you coordinate that part of the budget with the other groups? I know we're the major leader in the SWAT team,
When
but
there's grant money involved, we buy everybody. When it's just for our guys, we pay for our guys, and what their guys need, it's on them.
Okay.
So like, we just got a grant for some new, expensive, rifle rated helmets from, at first we didn't think we were gonna have enough money. We were gonna just do our guys, but then we got a grant that covered everybody. So every member of the team's gonna get it. So anything that the city pays for is just the Binghamton, the Binghamton police officers.
All right, kind of continuing down the list here, general operating supplies from 57 to 58. I mean, my thing I'm harping on this year, I guess, $3,500 for gloves and hand sanitizer. I'm gonna have right.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
No, box of gloves like $13-14, and you got to
Yeah.
remember how many caps.
I'm gonna have a chat with Bernice on Friday when we have I have a little meeting with Bernice about something else. I'm gonna have a chat with her about buying a pallet of gloves for the whole city. See if we can get them any cheaper because it's been a consistent
the
increased
prices, we
expense
do
item.
shop around seriously, and we
Yeah.
find a dramatic difference in prices sometimes. Like we're going one time, we'll find it, a box is $3-4, but cheaper than the next place. They change from place to place, so we just don't keep on the same place. Wherever we find the cheapest ones, that's where we buy them.
So, because I think fire departments are like 14,000 for gloves. And I mean, EMS,
we're
they go
cheap.
through a ton. Well, they're, yeah. Anyway. My other comment was the very last line on 58, subpoena telephone records for investigations, $3,000. You're subpoenaing for records and companies are allowed to charge you now?
They are. Yeah, we're still subpoenaing records for the East Side homicide. And it's $25 a whack, 100, depends on what you're doing. Tower dumps, they can legally charge us, and they do. Yep.
That's not very civic minded and patriotic of them, I have to say.
No, sir.
So continuing in this budget line, we have various supplies for Crime Analysis Center. Sort of pops up sporadically because the funding is very odd, right? I mean, the state's paying for it, other municipalities pay for part of it, we pay for part of it. We pay for the captain though, correct? His salary is Binghamton paid, yeah? Or no?
It's all,
No.
we have
That's
3
mixed.
employees down there that are City of Binghamton police officers. The captain and 1 investigator, everything's paid by the state. I have another investigator that
We pay them, they reimburse.
Yes,
They're on our payroll.
they are. They're city employees. There's a 3rd investigator down there that he's assigned there because he's been all sorts of training. He does all our phone work and computer work. He can dump phones, and you know what I'm talking about. There's also a civilian employee that is a City of Binghamton employee for now. The state is trying to make all those those analysts all paid the same, all state funded, and they're going to be civil service. So that's in the works. I think they're saying like mid, maybe 25, all the analysts in the state. So that would, we'll see, she would fall into that once they do that. So $1,000, they spend tens of thousands of dollars on that center. That's just for stuff that, like, we need disk when we're doing stuff for phones or computers. We got to put stuff on. It's material for our own people that work for, our city employees. There's different things. But, it costs the state, that center, tens of thousands of dollars to run it and all the programs and stuff there.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump in? I'm not trying to hog the microphone.
I've got a question about your printing. You got a printing line here. You're about 10% of the way through your budget for the year. Is that just, do you have like a lot of
One of those
stock?
things that we do once a year. How many parking tickets do we need? There's ones you write out that the officer's doing the car that we have to handheld it. So that's like one of those items. I said there's a few here in the budget that, we just bought a bunch that we do once a year. So we're not doing it, we'll order a lot to carry us through. And actually the last few years, we've reduced that substantially, that line, I believe.
So next, motor vehicle line, parts line rather. You seem to be maybe 3/4 of the way to spending in 2023, maybe a little bit more than that this year by the end of the year. We've gotten quite a few new vehicles, right? All the new pickup trucks and such, yeah?
The fleet's the best it's ever been. I've been here a long time. It's the best it's ever been. But still, there is some stuff that that has to be done. So, our mechanic's great, keeps the cars on the road. They run 24/7. The three big car companies will tell you a police car, the mileage is 3 times what's on the odometer because of all the running constantly. So, just the different things come up. Warranty runs out quick, 6,000 miles.
I was gonna ask, and the gasoline and diesel fuel line, I guess that just depends on how the price is, correct?
I'm gonna defer to them, but that's something they take care of. I
Okay,
can tell you, I know how it's done.
I think I mentioned.
that was me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think I mentioned this last night. Since COVID happened, we didn't have a gas program out at the I think it was down for like 2 years at the central garage to fuel up vehicles, and we just got one online in April. So we were using an estimate from COVID from like 2021. So the budget is pretty much of an estimate right now. And as this fuel system comes online from April for the rest of the year, we'll have a pretty good charge for each of the departments using vehicles and their gas mileage for pretty much the whole year.
So do you think you'll go to,
This budget last year was just an estimate based on
Okay.
the estimates from prior years, because it was COVID and we didn't have a fuel system to track anybody's fuel. It was just based on purchases and allocated on a percentage basis. So next year's budget, yes, that's going to come in about what he's going to come in. I can't tell you about this year.
How good is the number being spent as of September, is that an accurate number of what was spent through September? This $90,000, or is there a lot of trailing expenses or something, or?
I'd have to look that up.
Okay. I mean, it seems like as we've gone through these, the fuel expenses have consistently trailed the estimate. And I don't know if we should do anything about it now, or if I'm almost thinking we should have finance come back and look at it. maybe in May or June, partway through the year and see how the fuel system looks, having been in place for a year, and if we have, you know, if we're running tight or if we're running, very, or if we've overestimated. I don't know. But I think that might be a good way to look at this.
Right,
should-
even though it says this is as of September, we don't book the expenses until the end of the month. So basically it was as of August.
August.
I had another question too, in ammunition and supplies line, it looks like we're going to be over for, the coming year. Of what,
A lot of that stuff is set in stone. I'm gonna say probably it's just stuff we haven't ordered yet.
okay,
Um,
and, but then for next year, you have it at 65,000, so you don't plan on ordering the same stuff for?
Well, it depends every year. You see some stuff we leave that a show is zeroed out that we don't need it every year.
Okay,
So we don't use it, they don't use it at the range, and so then we don't buy it next year. So
Okay.
you'll see, we leave it there to show you guys that, we're just not buying. We leave it there probably next year, some of these zeros. When the 26 budget is done, you're gonna see money there because we're gonna need it then.
And on this topic, the reason that the equipment line was so much was because there was a budget amendment for new guns. I don't know if it was switching over the types of guns we were using or,
We got new 9mm with red dots for the whole department. So
I think that may also be affecting the ammo line,
Yes.
why it's over budget this year.
Yep.
And that was mandated, right?
no,
Did we get a
have-
grant or we just,
No, we just bought them. The FBI changed, they changed it, said, the 9mm are easier for smaller stature officers, to fire, be more accurate, and they did some study that, the new 9mm rounds have the same stopping power as 40 calibers, a little smaller gun, easier to shoot, more accuracy. So, after reading different literature, the mayor and I decided, and as has every other department in the county, has now switched to the 9mm, my understanding.
do you have the date of that? I don't remember us doing that. I think it was
You
was
you didn't,
previous council. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Maybe
don't,
it
yeah, I was gonna
was
say, I don't
because-
remember that.
somebody was offended when they wanted to see about the stopping power, that what we gave them, it is what it is. That's what the FBI gave us, but it was the previous council.
So when did that, so it was put in the
We just got the
2024
guns
budget.
this year. It takes a while. We just got them. Everybody's all trained up. Probably you guys have been trained up couple, 2-3 months. Everybody's carrying them now, the whole department.
Oh.
They all had to be retrained with them. The red dots makes way more accurate shooting, and that's another different training. So everybody's trained up. The whole department's carrying them now.
and part of the adjusted budget too is not only the budget amendments from this year, but it could be something that is still pending, like the guns that were carried over from the previous year.
So how do you know that? Like,
I would just have to look it up, but yeah.
Yeah, and the purchase orders that are open at the end of the year carry forward and increase the budget next year. So if you're gonna budget $95,000 in a line and you've got a $10,000 PO that you haven't used, it will carry over and your budget will be 105,000. So that's why you'll see a lot of these budgets that were increased. They could be RLs that you did, but it could also be POs that carry over from year to year.
Those guns were ordered last year. We didn't get them till this year.
And that's probably what it was. They put in a purchase order. They knew they were gonna buy them, but it just took over the year end.
Going back to the gas question, I was wondering, I somewhat frequently see officers idling cars, whether they were in them or not in them. I was wondering if that's a safety thing or if there's like
In
a reason behind it.
Other than K9, unless their emergency lights on, they're not supposed to have it running. When they're in it, the computer runs. You have to have the car on with all that stuff going. When they shouldn't, there's an order on, they're not supposed to leave them idling when they're not in them, other than their lights are on, or like the shooting last night, there's lights every place, stuff like that. Just normally and leaving their car, that's a no-no.
Thank you.
I'm really curious about you got an anthropology consulting line under professional services on page 62. I have no,
SUNY charges us. We find bones all the time. People call us. We don't know if they're human bones or not. SUNY does it and they charge us. They determine if it's human bone remains, a dog, whatever it may be. So we get charged.
But wasn't used this year though.
interesting.
I thought it'd be free, but it's not. You know, throughout the year, 3-4 times, somebody will find some bones or a dog will dig them up. And we have to have somebody look at them and tell us they're human remains or not.
Okay. My next question is on page 62. Why is the police department pay for the West Side Fire Station gas and electric?
Because it's not a fire station anymore. It belongs to the police department. No, years back, the fire chief and I negotiated, they took over that training center spot over there on Hall Street. We took that and we stored a lot of stuff there, and I'll leave it at that. Plus, we like when there's a crime scene.
So this is not the fire station on Main
It
Street.
was a fire, no,
No,
West
this
Street.
is the one over in the
West
first
Street.
ward.
Yeah, so we process cars there when we have a search warrant, bad weather. So that's our control. We've had it for, I don't know, 5-6 years.
I always wondered about that.
That's ours.
Okay.
Where's that at? I'm sorry.
It's off Clinton Street. If Jarvis coming back this way, maybe it runs down to where that big industrial park is. What's down there? What's down there?
Charles Street.
Charles Street.
Charles Street, okay.
So yeah, it's West Street turns into Charles Street. So it's right there. 3 or 4 blocks Jarvis coming this way on the left. It's one, it only goes to the left. Before you get to, I'm trying to think what's there now. There's a few houses. There's a bar on each side of the corner. I forget the names of them, but
Is there any thought to rename it?
no. Got any suggestions? No.
Let's see.
I got one again on page 62. You got vehicle repair. It's budgeted at $30,000, 28 of which is for outside vehicle repair. So that's just stuff that can't be handled in-house.
It's mostly body work. Accidents that are our fault, either a police vehicle or just recently we had one of the cars hit in the parking lot, left the scene, hit a police car and left the scene, but they did. So all of that vehicle repair mostly is body work. If we should have a crash, sometimes out of that line we pay. It's always been a thing with Corp Counsel, not necessarily Sophie. Where's that money come from when we're waiting for the insurance money to come back? If it's not our fault, most of them are not our fault, but that's mostly body work that needs to be done.
Okay. And then the towing of the police vehicles, is that just, okay, it's probably just to get them to the vehicle repair spot. I was just thinking.
Well,
like,
there's a
who's-
lot, yeah, even when like stuff under warranty, sometimes cars aren't running, we have to tow them to Wego to Royal. Sometimes the cars, occasionally break down. But yeah, it's towing of police vehicles.
So is the towing like a AAA type of a thing covering all of the
No.
fleet, or is
we-
it
we-
pay
we-
for
we-
use?
We put it out to all the record services in the city. And on one particular spot, most of them to charge us the going rate, and he tows these cars for $30. So, and the others went at 150, 175, 225. So they also come out if a police car has a flat and change it. We give them a tire that they have, and they come out and change the tire.
So there's also on 63, a maintenance fee for printers and copiers. Do we have a do we have a citywide contract on printer copier maintenance, or is different departments doing it?
I pay my own. I pay for the police department. My own, yep.
Chuck, is that something that's been looked into or no?
I don't know. I could have to, I can get with Bernice and see, because she has most of the maintenance contracts for the copiers.
'64, Chief, what is unforeseen training?
A lot of things come up throughout the year. We never know what's going to be offered by the state or anybody else. I guess the most current example is as a result of the Attorney General's report over the January 1st incident. Our outside counsel recommended training. It's not in his budget, but we have to send people to, I forget where, Illinois, only place it's offered for de-escalations, this particular training. So things pop up that the training budget's sort of fluid. You know, there might be something here they say we're going to do, and something like in February comes up, it's better than what we were going to use. So, you know, we use the money, what's there. And it just depends what training becomes available to us. The state sometimes will give us like a month's notice. There's going to be a certain training. So we don't know what's coming up. Well, you know, some of these trainings are consistent. Like guys just come back from a homicide school last week. That's at the State Police Academy, given by a countrywide renowned guy, and that's every week, every year, the same week. We know that. So there's some stuff we know, other stuff just pops up. It's based on what needs we have. We might have some new officer takes over a certain position, needs to be trained. So like we just had to train an SRO, she just became an SRO. We had to send her out. So it just whatever comes up.
Okay. Anyone else? Moment?
So was there a reason that the Corporation Council suggested training isn't in the budget directly, or you're feeling like that
I
unforeseen
don't
one would
understand the
cover that?
question. It wasn't
You mentioned that Corporation Council
And our
suggested,
Outside counsel.
in our
outside council, suggested this training in Illinois. Is there a reason that it's not specifically?
We didn't know about it.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's
She
just a new
recommended it like a
new
month ago.
conversation. Okay.
Yes, she just
Thank you.
recommended like a month ago.
Thanks for the
And
clarification.
so it was the next one available. Actually, the next two were sold out, and that was the next current one. And I think it's sometime in this month. They fill up quick. It's only off for one spot. So,
Okay.
Yeah, she just recommended like the last 6 weeks or so.
Would
And you're
that,
gonna-
10,000 be able to cover that?
Yes,
Okay. I don't know how much these trainings cost, so.
I forget what it is particularly, but as I said, everything the training line is sort of fluid. Whatever comes up, you know, if I think it's more valuable than what we have here, the money's there, we use it.
And how often do you do those trainings? They're just,
But, you know, and when they come up, we don't set the dates. We're training all the time. I have a board in my conference room where everybody is. There's usually every week there's somebody someplace, you know, that's the name of the game for a lot of reasons, to serve the community better, to protect us on lawsuits. You're doing the right thing. So we're constantly training, all the time. There's always somebody, usually someplace.
All right, moving on to page 66, on-street parking. My only comment is that we're adding the new parking meter checker. I'm assuming the increase in meter revenue from the increase and extra tickets will offset and maybe even create revenue. Yes, no,
We're always hopeful.
we.
This guy's
It's-
agreed to work noon to 8, Sundays,
Yeah.
Mondays off. So the downtown people are always complaining, the business owners on the weekend. So he'll be working noonday with Sundays.
So we'll cover later and we'll cover Saturdays, which we aren't doing at all, right?
Correct. Correct.
Do we have a sense of how much money we take in per hour of meter person working? It seems like we should know
I
that.
haven't done those calculations.
I'd be interested in that.
I don't think per hour, but I know in the past we brought in every year, it's hundreds of thousands in tickets.
I think it's between $400,000 and $500,000 in ticket fees. That's going from memory, so don't quote me on that.
Councilman, there's a revenue line that reflects that. So I think
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious, like what times of day, and obviously they're focusing on the meter stuff, but there's also ticket revenue things that they bill over. So I'm just interested overall in how we get to
Yeah,
and efficiencies with.
I agree. When we did this budget, we didn't know we were gonna have the second parking meter person, so basically the revenue's relatively flat. So hopefully next year we'll bring in some more money.
Okay, I'd like to open page 224 next and take a look at the capital and improvements. Chief, you're not asking for anything this year, it looks like.
You're learning, I'm cheap.
What?
No, I'm cheap. No,
Yeah.
We're good. There's a maintenance line for the building. So, and our cars are, usually coming up here, we'll see how the current budget is. And if there's money, we'll be coming to you, asking to move it to buy vehicles at the end of the year. So I don't need it, I don't ask.
Is the equipment auction, is this impounded vehicles or?
It's
That
stuff
auction.
that are abandoned. Actually, there's a stack on my desk that just came me yesterday. That auction's coming up like in 2 weeks. Cars have been sitting there impound for like 2 years, and you got to send out letters by law, and people don't respond to them. It's stuff like that. Old police vehicles that are junks and no other department in the city can use, or just stuff like that. So that auction's in a couple weeks.
So, I assume you're not auctioning all the weapons you've just
Never.
decommissioned,
We
right?
traded them.
But I was going to ask if the officer given a chance to buy them as
Yes.
secondary weapons or,
Yes.
yeah.
They were given the option to buy some guys that sentimental value, have been carrying them for years. They were given the option to buy them for the cost that the trade-in was given to us to replace them. So
One of the things we've talked about previously relating to like kind of 5-year plans and stuff, is there any attempt to kind of smooth out your budget across multiple years? I get that you're trying to not ask for, trying to keep it as small as possible, but kind of having a similar replacement, or is the bulk purchasing getting you a discount? Like, I guess what's the philosophy behind potentially having
Like,
a
police
accordion
department-
style budget
see,
versus
the police department is we need the same things every year, pretty much, one thing now, ammunition's going up greatly, supposedly end of this month. So we're looking for money that we can buy some ammunition in advance, because they're telling us like 30%. So we try to buy in bulk. We try to watch the prices on things, but most of the things we do are as I said, some stuff gets zeroed out. We don't need it this year, but we need it next year. It's usually the same things pretty much. As far as material items, obviously the training and stuff like that's different. But there's really, if we started wanting to build us a new police station, we'd have to budget that out 5 years. But most of the stuff is just recurring every year. If you look from year to year, the budget items themselves are pretty much the same. Just the money's fluctuating based on increases in prices, what we need this year and what we might need next year.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to move pages 54 through 66 and the police line on page 224.
I just want a little bit more time.
Okay,
before we-
okay. There's a motion by Councilman Costi. Is there a second to the motion? I don't see a second, so we will continue with questioning. Councilman Middleton.
I was looking at, your K-9, line, and it was just interesting that I guess you guys get the food free, it looks like.
So far,
Interesting.
yeah, we take turns, I think it's Perina, it's like 3-4 hours away. We, with the, sheriff's office and whenever they go every other month or something, we do it 1 month, they do it the next time. That's only been in effect, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. So, there's one dog every once in a while, it's got to have some special foods for some medical reason, but
And also in the reward line, it's zeroed out. So if something happens, do you put that, like, would you
we
put,
find money,
okay.
we find money.
Um,
Right. Do we have outstanding things where we have awards set that should they get filled, like similar to our bands and our bonds and all this stuff? Like, do we have a list of rewards that should people come in, which if you have information, please come bring it in. That would, like, we know kind of what the ballpark is for what, if everyone came in and gave their information and you solved
We
all
don't,
these crimes.
usually like if there's a serious crime and the mayor and I will get together, okay, what can we afford and, what's going to incentivize somebody to come in and speak to us. So it's just like if something bad happens, mayor and I get together and decide, okay, what's going to help us to have somebody come in.
So do we know how many of those are kind of hanging out in the ether for people to come and help solve
Oh.
crime?
What do you mean? Past crimes?
Yeah, like the ones that are outstanding.
There was some that, I don't know where the money is. It's not in here, but there was some, rewards that were not collected in the past, correct?
I'm talking about uncollected ones. So like homicide, a homicide happens. You meet with the mayor, you say, we're gonna have X number of dollars for rewards. And then no one has yet come to
Right.
share the information that they need to have. How much money are we on the hook for if everybody does the right thing, comes in and shares that information?
Well, we'd have to find the money before we paid it out, so we wouldn't be on the hook for anything. If we were gonna offer $5,000, we would come to you or whoever we have to, the Board of Contracts, and move that money to put it there, so we wouldn't be on the hook for anything. The money would be there, like, basically in the budget.
I think that's not budgeted each year because there are consecutive years where no one comes forward to collect these rewards. And then the other part is that sometimes with the very high profile cases, we'll have community partners will step forward and say, I'm contributing to this award too. So there's not really a way to necessarily track that.
Yeah, I just was curious, like I said.
I never knew how that worked either.
Yeah.
It's just-
Okay, many years ago, they did budgeted for $5,000 and they didn't budget for it, but they kept it in the budget. And I don't know what year it was, but we took it out and we put it in our trust fund. So we do have $5,000 set aside in a trust fund. It's just a balance sheet account, and I can explain that to Robert later.
Thank you.
okay. I would like to make a motion. Considering the exceptional quality of our current fleet, I'd like to motion to move $5,000 from line A 3120.54110 vehicle parts.
What page are
Can you
on?
give,
I
yeah, I was
lost
gonna say,
page.
could you
Hold
give
on.
page number?
I'm
Thank
going
you.
back. Lost page.
59.
159. At the bottom, 159.
There we go. Right, so it's page 59, line A 3120.54110 motor vehicle parts, reducing it from $40,000 to $35,000.
Councilman, would you entertain feedback on that?
There needs to be a second and then discussion.
Second.
Go ahead.
You realize that these cars are going to be older. And so although the fleet's in good shape now, they're going to be a year older with the equivalent of, instead of, we put over 36,000 miles a year. So it's 72,000. So the cars are getting older, not newer. So,
I,
something to take, we're going to have more breakdowns, more repairs needed.
I understand that, and that's why the money moves to contingency and doesn't evaporate off the face of the earth. I think it's a very small trim. And if we run into problems, that's what council's here for. So I think it's a very modest reduction. That's my opinion. Anyone else have?
I can
Okay, John,
attest to what the chief said. I work in the automotive industry, and once these cars get over 36,000 miles, I mean, your average labor rate is over $200 an hour. It's very expensive to fix vehicles. So
These are just parts.
I'm not sure you're countering the supply chain issue with automobile parts. So
Any other discussion?
No.
Okay, will the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
no.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 4-1.
I would also like to make a motion to amend line A3120.54112
What
on
am
page
I?
60.
Thank
It's the
you.
gasoline line.
Thank you.
I'd like to reduce it by $5,000 from 175,000 to 170,000. Again, we seem to be over halfway through the year, at least when this estimate was done. I think I would like to revisit fuel tracking for all the departments midway through next year as we have the information in the new system, but I think we can trim $5,000 here and move it back later if we need to. That's my proposal. Discussion?
Yeah.
Oh, second. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Councilman Hotchkiss. Discussion.
The only thing I would say with this, it's an estimate, so, I mean, that might be more. It's just an estimate. They're not sure yet. Am I correct or no?
You are correct. And I would just add to that, that if you look at what was expended in 23, it's higher than what we're budgeting for. And I think given that we just don't know what gas prices will do next year, it's part of having that buffer in there.
So after your comment before, I looked it up because I was curious, and Munis kind of does a projection for 2024, and their projection is 709,000 for all the vehicle lines, all the funds. And right now, the 25 budget, if you add them all up, is only 680,000.
But Munis's data is based on not having a system.
Munis takes the actuals year to date and does some sort of projection. I don't yet know how that works. I could probably get you more information. I just did it real quick. It's just something Munis does.
So you're alerting us that the budget may be under budgeted throughout for all the vehicles, gas.
For all of the vehicles, right?
I feel like that gives me more confidence in your amendment. Wait, you said under budget for everything?
No,
No, she says Munis has it about 30,000 over what?
what is in here? So
Overall.
Likely- the likely-
entire.
the
entire
system is
city.
predicting we're gonna have to move money to pay for gasoline throughout for all the departments.
Why didn't we account for the Munis projections when making the budget?
I think they are reflected in the budget. The 2025 proposed number is our best estimate based on, I think, what numbers Munis is throwing out there current year to date and probably what was spent in 2023. with like the added factor that we don't know what gas prices are going to do next year.
When we prepared the budget, we did our own projection. 8 months is this much a month. We have 4 months left. It's just basic math to project it, and that's what my projection was based on. But I've recently found this projection column in Munis, and so I don't have the data that I did. I could get that, but it was probably pretty close.
Yeah, okay. $25,000. We can move it on.
Any other discussion?
I'm just looking at it. I mean, the money isn't disappearing. It's just going in to,
Well, that's my point of view, but other
So-
people may want this in there, so that's why we're having a discussion.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? When you say it's going into contingency, what is that? What does council think that means? Does that mean like next year, if we need it for gas, we'll be able to appropriate it
It
then?
depends whether council moves it out of contingency or not, or leaves it in contingency.
Okay, so for now, it's going into contingency. Is the
Right.
plan.
So, the way I understand it is that, so if you're doing like an agile budget, right? You keep everything as small as possible because not every single God help us if every single emergency, every single snowstorm, literally everything happened. We don't actually expect every bad thing to happen. So you have kind of a golden path budget, and then you have money in contingency to help when some percentage of those emergencies are going to happen. And then you move the money in to make sure that you have money for the snow removal
Got
or
it.
the gasoline or the.
So council wouldn't touch that contingency until it's needed next year, if it's needed next
Right.
year?
So like the
Well-
snow, we know at some point when the snow, like once we're through the snow season, right, we know those emergencies are no longer in the realm of possibility of happening. There's still other types of things that might happen, so you wouldn't want to spend all of that. Right?
No,
But as the
yeah.
year progresses,
Yeah.
you know which emergencies did and did not happen. And then you can start to think about what can be done with that money. But yeah, that's the way I understand it. I don't know.
Okay,
And the budget process has historically locked every little piece of possible emergency, possible contingency, possible unforeseen, whatever, in 1,000 different budget lines that we then go fishing in whenever one actual thing happens. So I think council's sort of intent in working through this budget has been to make a little pile available for those contingencies that don't have to be fished out of lines all over the place,
got it. To make.
or other priorities that emerge.
as they come
And
up.
it seems so far very minor compared to the overall scope of the budget. Anyway. Kenya's gone. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, we'll wait just a minute.
I appreciate that explanation.
Yes, I'm waiting for her to come back. Sure, to the bathroom. I think. Yes. All right, so we have a motion hanging for just a minute, sorry. Unless anyone else wants to discuss gas. How does, do you know how Munis is projecting that? This is very interesting to me. I didn't know we had projections like this in there.
It's very interesting to me as well. I would have to ask someone that's been using it for longer, or Munis itself.
All right. Does it have other, like electricity, for example, which is another one that we're really scratching our heads over this year?
Yes, I could do the same thing. I didn't use this at all. We didn't use this at all when we were preparing the budget. Like I said, we just used math. This is a newer feature.
All right, something to explore.
I was going to say, it sounds like a good presentation for a finance committee meeting.
Yeah.
Chief, do you know how often pepper balls get used? If ever?
It just depends. not often. You know, we have to train with it. That's another state thing. The last time on Thorpe Street, we had a guy wanted for murder. We used all our gas, all our pepper balls, everything we had in stock, and we don't know how he stayed in there, but he did. So it's not often, but it's a great tool.
Rescind it and then bring it up again? Oh, here she is.
All in pain.
Oh, goodness, I'm sorry. All right, so we had my motion to reduce line A 3120.54112 by $5,000 from 175 to 170, I think. Seconded by Councilman Hotchkiss. We've had a discussion about gas and projections and budget philosophy. And now, any other comments before the clerk takes the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton, Council President Matavetsky,
No, nay.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
No.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
It's 3-2.
So it fails. Okay,
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to move pages 54 through 66 and the police line on page 224 as amended.
motion on the floor from Councilman Costi. Is there a second? No, there's no second. Okay, are there other questions on pages 54 through 66 or other amendments?
Going back to the vehicle repair line on page 62, I wanted to make a motion to amend A 3120.54450. And want to reduce that to $25,000. Motion. 62.
The motion on the floor by Councilman Hotchkiss. Is there a second?
So we've come under budget last year. I don't think we're going to hit our budget for this year. I think this is a modest adjustment, and I'm optimistic that there won't be more accidents that need outside vehicle repair.
Second, so we can have a discussion.
Okay. Let's see. I'm sorry. Motion by Councilman Hotchkiss to reduce line A 3120.54450 vehicle repair from $30,000 to $25,000. That'd be a $5,000 reduction. Seconded by Council President Matavetsky. Discussion.
I would just say in 2023, we spent $31,000. So I mean, it's really a unforeseen thing that could happen. So I don't know why we'd move that line down. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I was gonna say, so the encumbered is only through September, so we still have an entire quarter left.
Through August, technically.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we hit what was put before.
This gets reimbursed through insurance. Is that no?
Oh, no, as I said, most of that line is accidents that it's our fault. That we send out the vehicles, guys back in the signs, they run over things, something happens no, most of that line is stuff we're paying out for accidents that it's the police officer's fault who's involved in an accident.
The ones you're referring to are in the insurance fund.
But this line, am I correct, is just for like needed repairs if a patrol car breaks down or?
No, vehicle repair, if it breaks down, our mechanic does it. Vehicle repair is anything that our mechanic can't do. And sometimes it is mechanical. It's not just an accident. There's certain things,
Right.
there's a few things he can't do. So it's gotta be, there's certain, diagnostics tests that we don't have. They cost thousands and thousands of dollars to buy them. It's gotta go to the dealer. So it's not just for accidents, it's for a lot of other things that, just is beyond our capabilities as far as buying the equipment to check certain things. And so there's other repairs that go out that he can't do.
I think if it's not clear, I think for those reasons, we feel that that line shouldn't decrease below what was expended in 23. That $30,000 is, I think, a conservative estimate.
Any other questions or any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky,
No.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
No.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Nay.
That is 2-3. Thank you.
Any other discussions or motions?
Motion to move pages 54 through 66 and the police line on page 224 is amended.
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion? Okay, motion by Councilman Costi to move pages 54 to 65 and
66.
and 66 and 224, seconded by Councilman Matavetsky. Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, we have to do 73 and 75. I'm opening pages 73 and 75. That's animal control and civil defense. So you got a new animal control officer back,
We
and
do.
it's now sheltered in the police department. No
Correct.
pun intended.
She works under supervision of the traffic sergeant. Doing a great job too.
Yes.
I will say,
She is good.
yep, doing a great job.
And does this reflect her needs in the new position, in the new space? And
She works in the traffic office. Yeah, this, yes, I would think so. We budgeted a little bit of overtime for her, stuff happens and
okay,
we put some money in there for conferences. She went to a couple of things for training.
okay. And the actual shelter contract with Broome County is we pay a single set fee every year to the county and it takes care of that, or do they bill us for more services somewhere else?
I believe it's a contract with the county.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
It was for the.
So we have a contract with the county dog shelter to do our sheltering responsibilities.
Yes.
And I'm asking if this contract is the entire cost the city pays, or do we also pay per other thing that's billed somewhere else that I don't see?
I believe that's the entire cost that's set by contract. But I think it would have to be reflected in that animal control budget if there were other expenses.
All right.
And why do we pay it? Like what? Sorry. I'm sorry, that's a lot of money. So I don't know why we pay it.
It's a good question.
Oh,
So I think it's used like when she picks up stray dogs.
Mhm.
The shelter holds the
Definitely,
dogs for
that's
us.
what
Yes,
it is.
okay.
Yeah, she picks up.
yeah,
dogs,
but
takes
why do we cover the cost?
We have an
though?
obligation.
Why? Why?
I think it's by law, honestly. We don't
Is
get to
it?
check into that. Yeah.
I think it's just our contract with the county dog shelter in order for them to intake those animals from our animal control officer.
It's not just her. When she's off, officers take dogs there.
Okay.
We'd have to run a dog shelter or to come up with a dog shelter. We have to shelter the dogs that we collect.
Interesting.
Are there, do we like the Broome County Dog Shelter or are there other options that we could be looking into?
To my knowledge, there's not another option, but I don't have any complaints about them either.
Thanks.
Okay.
I haven't heard, never mind. Oh,
What's
Um,
the
no.
one that's on the south side? Is
Main Society is on the south side in
Is that-
District 6.
that not an option for bring? I don't know.
What about the, Humane Society? I've heard that.
I don't know. It's something.
Do we have like a multiple year contract on this, or is this something that I know we like to ask about bidding out.
I don't have the history on this, but we do have a contract and I'm sure we could track that down and when it's due to be renewed.
Yeah.
I mean, something happened. It went up by a couple $1,000s this year. So
Yes, yeah, they increased our, yeah.
I'm trying to remember a conversation that I had, and I'm not going to be able to do it accurately, but it seemed like there was option, like you have to shelter a dog. I don't know if it was necessary to do it, to send it to Broome County Dog Shelter. Especially if they're like at capacity and maybe they're one that wasn't.
yeah,
No,
I
that's-
just think we have a legal responsibility to do it, but
Right.
no, but I think as a city, as a
Yeah.
under the, yes, but yeah. Right. Right. All right. I didn't mean to go down the garden path with that one. Civil defense, which every time I read that, I just think of World War II air raid sirens and people with helmets on, but it's in fact the auxiliary police.
And that, before I even came around here, so, and they're invaluable. They save the city tens of thousands of dollars in overtime a year. Tens of thousands of dollars. They come out, floods, what, they do all the parades.
They were certainly visible during Porchfest and stuff
Yeah,
there
they're-
and all those
they save us
intersections. Yeah.
Lots of money in overtime.
How many folks are there actually active?
It fluctuates. I think right now it's in that 25 to 30 range.
Okay.
What, I'm a little curious about the vetting of auxiliary officers. Like,
We do a background check.
Okay.
Along with the school guards, like countrywide.
Any other questions? Is there perhaps a motion?
Motion to move pages 73 and 75.
Motion by Councilman Costi. Is there a
Second.
I'll
second?
second.
Seconded by Councilman Middleton. Clerk, would you is there discussion on the motion? No. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Wait, now I have a question. Why did we come in? Why are we only halfway through the annual budget? Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Will you withdraw your second so that Councilman?
draw my second.
Oh,
I'm
or
sorry,
did we both did at the same
Oh, yeah, I'm
time?
sorry.
I'll withdraw it so that way we can have the.
Withdrawn, so
Sorry.
there is no motion.
ahead.
So ask your
Sorry.
question, sorry. The discussion would be on the motion. Anyway, so it's in September and we're about $5,500 out of the 16,000.
We did have like at least three big events that I'm not sure would be accounted for in that spent line. We would have had Porchfest, Blues on the Bridge and LUMA. That's
Plus
just
coming up
a
to.
guess.
Right, and some holidays. So I guess the answer is we do a lot of celebrations in the fall here in Binghamton.
Okay.
Some parades coming up.
Yeah.
Veterans
All
Day,
right.
Columbus Day.
Councilman Costi, would you like to remake your motion?
Motion to move pages 73 and 75.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Middleton. Any discussion on the motion? Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunn is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
I'm sorry, I know I had a question back about animal control. How come they don't have like an office budget, like office supply budget?
I just use that, whatever she needs out of
Okay.
my office supply line.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Okay, I'd now like to
Thank you.
open page 227, 228, the fee schedule for the police department. We have a few changes here.
Wait, I'm coming.
Oh, all right, 228
I know you're so fast, Robert.
with the yellow section. There we go. Looks like change to meter fines, change to time zone alternate side fines, and then the parking meter increases, pardon me. Anything you want to say about this, chief?
Maybe Chuck does. This is above my pay grade.
Or I can too, Chuck.
Oh, feel free.
Well, I'll try and then you can fill in my gaps. But just what I think what the chief's budget summary said is that none of these fees or fines have increased in several years. For the alternate side parking fines specifically, I think that's the fine that's increasing the most, and that's really tied to just compliance. And when we don't have people complying with alternate side parking rules in the winter, creates the biggest issue for snow removal and emergency vehicle access.
So this is something that like really, I'm pretty curious about, and I hope you can answer it, but we'll see. I'd love to see the breakdown of the people that do the 2-day payment versus they wait 3 days and have to hit the $40 or $50, just to see how effective the decrease in the fine is, and how that relates to the compliance of the payment. Does anybody look at that, or is that just
The treasurer's office might have that.
The treasurer office takes the payments, and they can probably get that for you. I'd have to get with him and see how he can do that.
Okay, and
I know I've come in under like 20 minutes because I saw that it's like a $20 fee and I don't want to pay $40. So I don't know if that, I'm just curious. It incentivizes me. I don't know if it works on everybody.
I have a question about the next section, which is the parking meter fees. We've been at 50 cents an hour, or I'm sorry, half hour for quite a while, I think, and we're taking to 75. Do we have any coin operated meters left, really?
Just the handicap meters.
Just the handicap? Well, those have a different rate. I was thinking that on the app, you could do a lot of people do 15-minute increments. It would make more
Right.
sense to go to 80 cents an hour. Because it's a whole amount of, every 15 minutes would be 20 cents instead of
Oh, you just want to round it?
I want to go up another nickel, yeah. I think it would be better on the app.
But that's just a programming thing for the app.
Right, but you're it'd be 37.5 cents or whatever
So
for
it's easier for the
15 minutes.
for the customer to
Yeah.
calculate that themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just how it shows up on the app, essentially.
An extra 5 cents, that would be great for the city.
I mean,
Does the app also charge an extra fee on top of that?
The fee is passed on to the consumer. yes,
Right.
Not through us.
Right, so they're not just paying the 20 cents per 15 minutes.
I
They
know,
would be
It's
doing that
30,
plus a fee.
it's 35 cents per transaction.
Right.
so.
but still.
But
I mean,
But they don't-
how does our dollar an hour I'm sorry, be $1.50 an hour compared to other municipalities.
For I've parked in Syracuse, Rochester, and they're a little bit more. BU's about the same. I think they use the same meters as we do. I'm not exactly sure what their meter rate is over there. I've parked in bigger cities, Fort Worth and Dallas, and they're a lot more, but that's not here.
Correct.
That's something that parking study that's included in the capital improvement proposal would look at too. The last one looked at it, but it's obviously been several years,
Yeah,
so
funny.
it's probably outdated.
Yeah, I thought it was 2018, but I think it's even older. Is it
I think it's
2016?
16 possibly.
Mhm.
Okay. Do we want to possibly not pass these pages if we want to, if you're waiting for that data from the treasurer?
Sure.
Or are you okay passing it?
I'm okay.
Sure.
I'm
Right.
sure. I'm
Well-
sure. Thank you.
I would like to motion to increase the parking meter fee to 80 cents per half hour.
Second.
Second, motion by me, second by Councilman Hotchkiss. Any discussion on the motion to raise the parking meter fee per half hour by a nickel? No discussion. Clerk, would you take the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
No.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 4-1.
Is there a motion to do anything with this page?
Motion to adopt the police fees on pages 227 and 228.
I'll second.
Amended,
As
wait,
amended?
as
As
amended.
amended.
All right, relax as amended.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion?
I'll
I'm sorry, is
second.
there a second? Seconded by Councilman Middleton. Any discussion on the motion?
Sure.
Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
And I'll just interject that I'm interested in graduated parking sanctions for multiple tickets. I'd like to, that's going to be a larger discussion than something we can do during this budget. So just letting you know.
All right. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you to the rest of the team up there, although you get to be with us a little while longer. Do we have Chris Strand here? All right. Is everyone okay with having Mr. Strand do his presentation and then we can take a break?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we'd like to welcome up Chris Strand. Would you like to introduce him, Deputy Mayor? Oh. It's the Golf Fund. So we're going to open pages 151 through 169.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for making this adjustment too. Normally we do this with parks, but Chris is able to come tonight and I think he'll shed some light on what's going on over at Ely Park Golf Course. He is with Indigo/Troon, which manages the city-owned golf course for the city, and I will kick it over to Chris.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. There we go. And I just read that off.
Good evening, everybody.
Typo on.
I'll give a little background on our management of Ely Park. So we started in 2021. The city leased the golf course before, decided to make a change in management, hired Indigo Sports, which is now a part of Troon Golf, to manage the property in 2021. So just completing our 4th full season. In 2021, when we stepped on the grounds, there was basically the town owed nothing, no equipment, no carts, no computers, really almost nothing, starting over basically at the golf course. So that's what, we've kind of transitioned over the last few years. Just to give a little background of kind of where we've come from, some quick numbers. In 2021, we did 18,000 rounds for about 420,000 in revenue. The next year we jumped to 25,000 rounds for 665,000 in revenue. Last year in 2023, we did almost 29,000 rounds for $840,000 in revenue. And then this year we're trying to do another 3,000 rounds, about 32,000 rounds, and probably another $100,000 to $120,000 in revenue on top of that we've done. So obviously trending in the right direction. We've done spent a lot of time on fixing up a lot of things, and that's obviously helping our revenues, our rounds, and even this year especially was actually a really tough weather year. Spring was very bad compared to last year. August was tough too. So to really compare to a lot of our courses in the region, to kind of keep showing a very positive trend is kind of ahead of anybody else that we manage. So just to give you a little kind of background of where we came from and where we've come. So it's been really a great project to be part of. It's been a great partnership with the city, and excited to be part of kind of the growth of Ely Park to bring it back to its glory, let's say. So it's been great.
I just had a question. It looks,
I'm sorry,
Oh.
1 second. I just want to correct the record. The golf fund ends at page 159, so we've only opened 151 to 159.
thank you.
Sorry.
No, thank you.
Sorry, Councilwoman Middleton, please.
I'm just looking at it. It just looks like the revenues are overestimated. Is there a reason why from previous?
Total revenues.
Yes.
So obviously we're showing a trend, in a positive direction. A couple things that are going to change for next year, so everyone's aware. We're going to raise the rates $3 to $5 across the board per round. So that'll, on 30,000+ rounds, there's some of that revenue, as well as we built a deck this year. It didn't get open till late summer, but that's going to help us do a lot more outing revenues this year. Food revenue in total by having the deck, doing more events, also gather more outings and things going forward, as well as memberships, annual passes for next year going up as well. So the goal is to keep moving in the right direction. We've made tremendous strides to the bottom line as well over the last few years compared to where it was in the past, and we want to get it to a point where the golf course could be self-sufficient. So we need to kind of push some fees and do a little more with food and beverage and outing revenue.
So several questions in there. First of all, are we still balancing, the need to bring revenue to at least neutral, that hope, with the cost to, per round cost to mostly Binghamton residents that use this amenity? Are we competitive? Are we still competitive with other golf courses and with other municipal courses and such? What's around an Enjoy cost?
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy is quite a bit more, but compared to most of our competitors in the area,
And who do you see in your competitor in the other golf courses in our class, if you will, or?
Sure. So places like
Years.
Conklin Traditions, some of those, Enjoy's a little bit more. We're all though competing for the public bucket of rounds, right? We're not private, we're a public golf course, so we're still competing for those rounds kind of regardless. So looking at rates, I think there's some room on the public side to move these. Golf trend over since COVID has really actually been a boom in golf. More people took up the game. That is softening slightly with more people going back to work and doing other activities, et cetera. But golf's still way above where it was, let's say in 2019. So our demand with doing over 30,000 rounds, which is steady golf in a northern environment, right? Where
So what's the capacity of, how many rounds can Ely sustain? I mean, it obviously depends on weather and stuff, but
Right.
like how many people can actually go out on the course in a day if it's a really nice day?
I mean, you could do, I mean, a crazy number is doing like 300 rounds a day, which is possible, but, during the summer, we're averaging about, just short of 6,000 rounds, during June, July. That's 200 rounds a day. That's steady golf, throughout the summer. So, can we get this to mid thirties? Probably, I think,
And where's the point where we're overcrowding and not?
sure, there's always a healthy balance there. And again, though, supply and demand, right, would say rate can go up a little bit though, when you're doing that to offset that, to some degree. We're not there yet. Like I said, this year at 32-ish thousand rounds is our projected for end of year. I think is good. I mean, it's a fair number, especially considering the spring we had and knowing we have to be closed for X amount of time. So, I think at some point, yes, there is a max of how many rounds we can really do or really plan to do unless you have a greatest weather year of all time. And at some point, we can't keep pushing rate because of your competitor, all your competitors, et cetera, of where we would end up being. When we first came in, again, there was so much to fix at the golf course. We had to start low just to get people back to Ely Park. So now now the product's great. The golf course is in great shape. And we've been able to push rate a little bit. Next year is kind of the next phase of that. And then, and as I mentioned earlier, the other revenue buckets. And I think we can get to a point where, the golf course could be self-sustaining. One big note that's on there is, again, the equipment, right? When, again, we came in there, we didn't own anything. So the city had to do a maintenance package of equipment that we're paying $97,000 a year for through the next 2 years, 25 and 26. They'll end that. And at that point, that'll come off the budget, which will be huge because that really will be at the point where the golf course could be self-sustaining. But the next couple of years, we're going to try to get as close as possible. But once that bigger number comes off, that's when we'll get to a point where we should be in good shape.
So Chuck, where do we see that? Because I don't see an interfund transfer for this coming budget year.
We didn't put it in the interfund transfer.
Oh, it's somewhere else.
No, it's an expense line and that's it. It's in the maintenance and rental line, I think. It's not a revenue line.
So the city,
155,
155.
CR 7180, 54520, equipment lease rental. So John Deere equipment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the 97,600.
But it looks like you have the budget balancing without general fund money. Is that?
Yes, we wanted to, we were starting a year early to see if we can see if this budget will balance.
Wow. All right. So I would consider this an accomplishment if you pull it off
hopeful.
next year.
We're hopeful. We're hopeful. I think it'll be a tight budget, but I think I think Chris and his crew can pull it off.
All right, Chris, the spotlight's on you all year.
It has been. I mean, I know we've been trying to be aggressive with what we're doing in the city here to get this back to break even, and that's going to continue to be the push to be the goal. So
I mean, I think it's a major amenity for the city to have and offer residents, and I don't necessarily think that 100,000 is a crazy amount for the city to expend on that every year, but I think achieving break even would be an accomplishment, and so.
yeah, absolutely. I think, and again, that's where when we first started here, we wanted to take it, and we talked to the city at that time, like, this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time to build based on where the course was at the time. But we've seen the positive trend on doing that, and we'll definitely, if not this next year, it's going to get there. I have full confidence in that. But we're definitely trending in a great direction to get it to that point.
Now you mentioned the new party deck. So before last winter, I believe, there was discussion from previous Parks Commissioner about we were thinking about building a concrete deck and we ended up back with a wooden deck. Is there a story behind that?
I think it was just, I wasn't part of all the budget discussions on how that went, but really I think just for budgetary reasons, that's where we ended up. But we got the size we wanted and we got what we needed to be able to, again, eventually now we want to put some tables underneath. It was a dual purpose deck. So it was to add some bar and restaurant revenue up top. And it gave us a space that we don't have currently or didn't have currently to be able to host more bigger groups and outings, which is big business in golf. We haven't been able to compete with outings because we didn't have the banquet space or space to be able to host events with bigger cookouts, et cetera. So all we had was a little bar and that little side room upstairs. So it's going to allow us to really promote that and hopefully do more of that business.
Is the food concession and bar staying open in the winter now or?
No, we close. It doesn't make sense to spend the labor on that over the
It's
winter
not open.
months.
Yeah, if it's not open.
Yeah, it's golf centric, right? I mean, it's based on our golfers. I mean, we do have a few other people that might come and grab a bite for lunch, et cetera, but it's very minimal. It's based around the golfers. The plan with the deck though for next year is to be able to host more events. I heard you talking earlier with more city events. I mean, we want to do that at the golf course too. We want to have more, whether it's a guitar player or festivals or little things we can do there now too, which is great.
Don't know if I missed this when you were starting, but do you have the unique visitors and tracking on Binghamton residents versus like outside of Binghamton?
Sure. I don't probably have that readily available, but yeah, we absolutely track kind of resident versus non-resident golfers. We work with the local visitors bureau to do marketing. We actually, now that the golf course is in good shape, they've actually approached us in some ways to do more partnerships with us as a golf course that should be on their kind of docket to go visit, before.
Yeah, I was going to say,
carefully-
you're not on the Visit Bing app yet.
So.
Rec Park is.
Sure. So some of it's been great because we've been able to where people wanted to just go to Enjoy or some of the other clubs before. The word's out there, social media, et cetera, has all been very positive where I know we're getting more people that are coming to the Binghamton area that are probably playing Ely Park way more than they were before. So we did some marketing outside the region as part of the travel marketing fees and stuff. We've been able to get a little bit of grant money, a couple $1,000s, not huge, but we're putting that toward attraction to get some more people there as well.
Any other golf related questions?
Do you have anything for first time golfers? Something I've been curious about.
Was
Do you
that?
have stuff for first time golfers?
No, absolutely. So Brad's our head pro and general manager. He does all kinds of instruction and clinics and lessons. So if anyone's ever interested, he does a great job. We do a few clinics throughout the year for either beginning golfers, women's clinics, kids camps. We do all those kinds of things to attract more people to the course and get people into the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're just looking through the lines, your golf maintenance labor lines seem to be coming in under budget this year. Or is there a bunch of end of season stuff you do maybe that makes up for that? Or
The trend, I know, talked with Chuck, was that only had through June. So a lot of our chem and FERT hits like July, August as you get into the summer months. So there's probably some catch up there. But we're still trending to be just under budget for this year.
Yeah. Just for edification, they do their workup with their budget, and then they send us everything that happened at basically anywhere from the second or third week of the next month, and then we have to actually put it in Munis in our records because they do all the expenses and then just send them to us. So it takes a while for us to go through all this and get it into Munis. So it was another month behind this September date.
okay. Fair enough. And the other thing is the other item of debt, which is the golf cart lease. Is it common and usual to lease golf carts rather than try and own them and maintain them? And
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with the use they get, standard kind of golf industry practices that you lease them for 5 years and you turn them back in and you can do a lease, especially where the town didn't have the funds up front to buy them all. It's something you can definitely look into in the future, but this was the smartest way to go, especially the truth is when we were getting them in 2021, you couldn't get golf carts. I mean, it was pretty insane. So that was the right play at the time to do that. When this lease ends up, we can talk about how do we want to tackle that going forward.
okay. And what about your contract? Does it have an end date, a renegotiation date, or?
So we have an initial 5-year term that goes through next year. We already proposed to do in our contract, there's a 3-year extension already built in that we've already proposed to the mayor to extend from 26 through 28.
Okay. Any other questions about the golf fund? All right, so there is a but. And during the parks budget, so I'm opening page 225 back up. Because we had put a pin in the Ely Park improvements, which is the roof repair. So that's the but in we're hoping the golf course will break even, is that we have a capital expenditure to talk about. Would you like to discuss the roof situation?
Yeah, so the maintenance roof has been a major concern since we've been involved. And that's kind of always been on the waning budget of must repair leaks. We've done as much patchwork, I think, and everything that we can do. And it's been in the kind of the must do list for the last couple of years. So I think this year was the final. All right, we caught up with equipment, we caught up with the deck, we caught up with some of the other stuff. So now it's the roof for the maintenance building is kind of the must do.
I'm waiting for Council President Matovetsky to jump in and ask you about any other plans in the next few years or any other big capital items anticipated, or if you work through the list.
Sure. So I know one of the other things was siding on the building itself. I mean, you've probably seen it. It's crazy old.
I am not a golfer. I haven't been up to Ely Park at the golf course in years. I should go up
sure I've
as a
ever
council
been.
person.
Old wooden shingles that are from, I don't even know, 50 years ago. I mean, it needs a facelift. And some of that's just in need of repair. So that's the other big, I'll call it ticket item. And then there's there's always going to be some maintenance equipment needs and a few other needs to keep up with kitchen equipment, those types of things. But those are relatively small in the grand scheme.
So the deck was the bigger?
Was this bigger item this past year, correct?
Okay. Just wondering, I thought, maybe the roof before the deck or.
The deck is separate from the building, so you can actually and the deck is on the clubhouse. We're talking about the roof for the maintenance building. It's a totally separate building.
Okay.
And then the siding, the way we did the deck was separate and off the grill, which is up top, so it wouldn't affect any of the siding or what could be done there.
Okay.
I guess my question is it's not related to the roof, but it's do you have experience with trying to do like event promotion and hosting as part of like golf management?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, so I'm a vice president of operations, but we have regional support team that helps support Ely Park in every department. So there's a regional director of ops is me. You got agronomy, you got marketing, you got food and beverage. So there's kind of every department that gets covered that we help support. So myself, along with the general manager, will work with our director of marketing to do all of our social promotion and helping promote out getting events, et cetera. All the websites, all the social media, all that stuff, right? So, and then there's the agronomy guy who will help our superintendent's name's Jeff, help him out on you know, what to spray, what to do out on the golf course, what projects to keep up with, making sure the equipment's kept up to all those standards. To make sure we're maintaining them so we don't come back with needs sooner than we need to. But yeah, so the great thing about having a management company is, you know, the team on site is a large support system to cover everything that you could think of.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
I'm curious in terms of having like, so it's not directly done by the parks people. The spray, you mentioned spraying, which has been a topic in the environmental commission. Do you use the same types of sprays as the city uses or?
I have
like-
no idea what the city uses,
Okay.
so.
There's no kind
we-
of conversation about that.
We have our own, you know, national partnerships that we
Mhm.
buy our chem and fert, you know, those types of items through that we use, that ultimately, it's another benefit of having a management company like Troon, you know, our buying power is second to none. So we're getting, you know, a lot more bang for the buck per se, right? In the dollars we do spend on that. We're getting larger rebates, and more upfront on our purchase programs. Same with the equipment, same with the carts, all that stuff.
Any other questions, or is there perhaps a motion? Councilman Costley, would you like to make?
Motion to move pages 151 through 159.
Okay, and perhaps the Ely Park, park improvement on 225?
Oh, I thought never mind. The Ely Park improvement on page 225.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Costi to move pages 151 through 159 and the Ely Park improvements, which is the roof on page 225, seconded by Councilman Hotchkiss. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye,
Thank you. That's 5-0.
thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Strand. Nice meeting you.
Yeah. You as well. Thank you very much.
I'd like to make a motion for a break.
All right, is there a second? All in favor?
But we didn't put a time limit on it, so
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
5 minutes.
All in
sorry.
favor?
aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll be back at 5. Thank you.
Eddie.
Okay.
I was checking.
Been a long day. I know. Yeah. Pretty good. We can get out of here by 9. I know.
But I make up.
Right. Okay. Think. All right. Call the meeting back to order. Welcome down Jeff Kruger, the Superintendent of Water and Sewer, to present the Water Fund and the Sewer Fund budgets. I'd like to open pages 160 to 184 and 185 to 210. Okay. Welcome. Would you like to give us an overview?
Thank you. Good evening, esteemed members of council. I'd like to begin this evening's budget presentation with a brief explanation of some of the basic differences with this department versus other departments within the city. As a self-funding entity, you will see a large number of withdrawals heading to other departments. This is the price we pay so the other departments are willing to work with us and be our friends. Pretty much, we've put together everything. We put some work in on this one to try to keep it where it stands. Sewer as always, it actually this year came in a few $100,000 less. I think it's 140,000 or something, less than it was last year. Water went up in an equal amount. We've added an employee to the water filtration plant. And even in trying times, we're doing everything we can to keep the budget tight and capable of continually supplying drinking water throughout the community.
That was a good intro. Great intro.
When things come in under budget, I guess for one of the questions comes up is why? How did that happen and how do you repeat the magic?
I wish I could explain how you started the magic to begin with. You do what you can with pretty much a guesstimate. You couldn't run your home budget the same way we do a city budget. We have to project everything that's going to happen in the year to come. And that's a tough call. We use trending for everything we can to try to get the best projections going forward. But it's still, it can be up to the whim of the public. If there's a brand new drinking water out there that has pH or that has oxygen to it, it might actually affect sales. There's a lot of things out there that can affect us. It's a fragile market because it's completely based on consumer confidence in our ability to deliver a good product to each and everyone's household.
This has nothing to do with the budget, but I'm not a tap water drinker. I'm a bottled water drinker, but Hadassah and Sam, they always say how good the water is in Binghamton.
Well, we actually have to test the water that goes
Okay.
to your house through the taps. The bottled water company, they just strip it of everything and then add pretty much a powdered mixture to add chemicals back into it so it
Oh.
tastes like water.
Oh.
Because were you to taste it through reverse osmosis or one of the other harder methods of filtering water, it would have no flavor and taste very acidic. So
So you're saying I should drink the city water then?
it'll make you live longer.
Okay, thanks for that. Thank you.
Well, you get better gas mileage in your car, everything.
Thanks.
Drinking water does.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, waiting for corporation counsel to jump in to say some sort of disclaimer there.
They've been trying to disclaim me for years.
So your staff is fully staffed now that you've hired that person? I remember when we
had
came
10
to
people
visit,
roughly.
there was a
Yeah.
bunch of people missing on the tree.
Um,
All right, so we got.
this will be the 10th operator. This will actually begin to affect our overtime budget in a positive way, a very positive way. This 10th person will be an extra set of hands on the floor.
Can you move the microphone closer to your face? Thank you.
This 10th person will be an extra set of hands on the floor during the week. They'll also be filling in for vacation and any extended periods of time off from our regular 9 operators.
32.
Distribution right now is at full staff. And we still have an issue with the wastewater collection sewer department with senior positions being empty. We're waiting on some of our junior people to finally get their licensing and qualify for the equipment they need to qualify for before they can be promoted. We're hopeful that we'll have at least a couple by the end of the year.
Hi, Jeff. I, I'm curious, it seemed like when we did the tour and we had a meeting with you, the trajectory for the volume of water being used or consumed was in a downward trajectory over like 10, 12 years. So I'm surprised to see that you're projecting an increase in revenue for 2025. Is there any?
We have to look at it after, I've been tracking from 2001 forward to watch the number decline. For the past 3 or 4 years, we've been bobbling at the very low end of that spectrum. So I'm guessing trend wise, it looked like it was going to head up a little bit. So that's how the budget was based. You know, we have a 2020 being a horrible year for just collection of funds. Those things still put a crimp in all the numbers and what we see. So anything's got to be better than it was then. You know.
Yeah, I was expecting to see a fee increase, but your fees are flat, right?
Yes.
So we're staying the same.
In water.
Yeah,
Yes.
for
Flat,
for
right?
waters. Yeah.
We're going to have a sewer increase midway through the year.
May 1st, 65 cents per unit, 65 cents per 748 gallons.
Okay.
Yeah, I have an intro level question here on the water rates. Could you just define the inside city users versus outside city individual users versus outside city municipal users? Like, who are those groups?
Inside city users lie within the city of Binghamton boundaries.
Okay.
That's all of the standard ratepayers and all of our constituents within our boundaries.
Mhm.
Outside users would be anyone who's receiving our water because it's the only supply available, but are outside of the city boundaries, and hence they're taxed by another municipality. And they have one or both of these utilities available. Some might only be sewer, some might only be water. A few of them are water and sewer, depending on where the pipe runs end and who's
So
responsible.
what towns or areas?
Every bordering town has a couple of houses that fall in one category or another, whether it's water and sewer, water or sewer, or just outside the boundary. And it was easier for them, cheaper for them to make a connection to our service than maybe going up 500 foot up the road to connect to the end of their town service. We have lines through Vestal that are like that. Village of Port Dickinson, town of Dickinson. Even right on the edge of JC and us, there's a couple of shared streets where there are 2 water mains in the same street. So
is there a reason that town of Vestal doesn't pay the outside rate?
that is an incredibly long story that would take at least an hour to go over all of the details. There is a fund balance that's in dispute that the town of Vestal believes we owe them, and it's based off of the sewage treatment plant. That place over there. And it was done probably 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago that they came up with this solution. And so 2009, Sam.
Thank you.
Since it's all of our first years here, I kind of have a question about your department is bifurcated between water and sewer, and the services are, and some of the salaries are and whatever. So you have water administration, and then you have lines for accounting service, collection service, information tech service, engineering service, corp counsel. That's all interfund transfers essentially back to the, or not yet, back to the city. You're charging this, you're paying the city back for services the city's providing you.
Correct. And that's
These are
usually
not, none of these
50
are
water,
outside
50 sewer.
contractors.
Yeah.
Right? And then some of the lines are split right down the middle, it looks like, between water and sewer. So hold on, I can open them up, but say, I think accounting services are split right down the middle. I think corp counsel, I think, is split right down the middle. And other ones must be based on actual usage. Yes? No?
I have calculations that we
Okay.
use, like this is just an example, but it goes through all the departments. Like, it's an estimated percent of time of what the comptroller does, the purchasing and the stores keepers does for the water department and for the sewer department. Take our salaries and benefits, and it comes out to that number, 104,000. And it's the same thing all the way down with the treasurer's department for water sewer bills, IT, corporation counsel, and the engineering department.
One thing that caught my eye between the two departments was the postage costs, which is now $46,000. That, I mean, it's water and sewer go out on the same physical piece of paper.
Right. It's not just water and sewer bills. We did not send out shut off notices last year. And this year we are sending out shut off notices, and next year. So that is a huge cost. Because they have to go and mail them and post them on everyone's doors that are getting a shut off notice.
I'm curious, why didn't we do that last year?
It was a staffing issue. We were short in the treasurer's department. And I think I'm not sure if it was with Jeff's department. I'm not going to speak to that, but the treasurer's department had issues.
Okay, thank you.
And did we, so those bills, we had more bills than I'm assuming roll over to taxes than normal, maybe?
Yes, we did. We're trying to lessen that this year. We're trying to get our receivables back down to a nominal level. Because that does account for our due froms between the general fund and the water and sewer department.
Is there some point where, if there's too much money rolling over to taxes, that it puts anything at jeopardy with the county?
The county does make us whole, but they have to. So yes, they can complain, but we try to do our part. We will try to collect as much as we can. We just have persistent non-payers that roll the taxes pretty much every year, and they'd rather pay their bill on the taxes.
I've reached out to people in the county about the itemizing the bills that potentially going forward, so that when things are submitted to the IRS, that it doesn't look like it's taxes. So I'm looking into that issue.
That is a good point.
In the interest and earnings line and the revenue section, it's 163. I had a significant interest earnings this year. Did seem unusual. Is there a reason why? Were we?
The water fund we had a bond, we had a ban last year, and a significant portion of it was water and sewer. And we invested those funds in NICLAS, which is earning, well, for the last year was earning over 5%.
Did we ban too early, or was it
No,
normal?
it was a normal ban.
It was normal. We just got good return.
Yes, it was from April. And their regular account earns their interest too as well.
Okay, Mr. Crew, you get the same grilling that everyone gets about overtime. We're looking at, it looks like you expended a full 34,000 in 2023. It looks like you're on track for less than that this year, but we're at the $34,000 again, and you do have a new person. So what's any chance on any savings in overtime this year?
Bring it. Come on.
Come on. That's
Bring
it. I'm pretty
I'm raising
gentle.
10 grand. We talked about that. I think that was something that kind of slipped by. With the 10th person, which I'm fairly confident, I'm already in negotiation with someone. That's gonna be moving into the area. Fairly confident I'll have that 10th position filled. And I know at the end of the year, we're going to begin new shifts. In the past, I spoke briefly on a 9-man shift. We are gonna make that a reality. That itself is gonna lessen overtime by completely redesigning how we staff the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week position. The simplicity of it is mind-boggling, but it's something we never thought of and never actually looked at until recently. Till an employee brought it up. Yeah, so that we look forward to that. We have room. We have room, and you will not have an argument with me. I'll even be the first to ask for a motion on it if you want to knock that down some. I may even counter offer you with something higher.
All right. Chemicals seem to be another spot where we've been we're seeing consistent increases across the board. It looks like you are probably on track to, well, depending on what gets spent when, I guess is the question. We're at 580,000 through September, which if you're spending consistently would put you at 760,000 by the end of the year. But maybe
Just so you know that it's not all expended. It could include purchase orders.
okay. Okay. So do we have an idea? I mean, so the ask has actually gone down, but I will be surprised if we meet this year's budget or not, or do you think we will?
We've been crunching the numbers in the plant. We're gonna be very, very close. I may at the end of the year have to ask for somebody to be transferred. I'm gonna try to do it minimal and one load at a time, where I may be able to just skate it through his office and not have it reach the amount where I would need to come to council. But if we have to, we have to. The hope is that we're going to stabilize at some point on some of these chemicals. We still have the 2020 supply chain effect on some of the pricing. Right now, chlorine, we're getting it from another source. They've been consistently raising it a couple of pennies at a time, but it's still about $1.30 a gallon less than we were paying for it, which is surprising.
Are you buying from the same supply? I actually don't even know. Do you use the same sort of chlorine that the pool folks do? Is there any advantage of buying as a bigger conglomerate?
No, they were buying with us and using my pricing, because they're such a small amount. And we moved on to a new contract, new company, and better price.
So hopefully they'll be getting that price as well then.
No,
Oh.
no, we haven't offered it to the pools and the Parks Department. We haven't gone with Parks to set up something like that. We'd have to talk to the supplier because it's a smaller amount. How would they want to deliver it? Would they be willing to deliver it in bulk like that? Would they want to go to container type transports, things like that?
Okay, but something to,
When it was before, when we were dealing with Amrex, which was across the street, and that's still my emergency source of chemicals. If something goes wrong, I could send a truck over there on Sunday night, to pick up something if something were to break. That's an amazing, luxury to have in our backyard, as far as I'm concerned. But pricing wise, this other company beat them out. But they have higher shipping costs just because they're further out.
okay.
So we're expecting the pool costs to go up then because of it not being it being a smaller amount and not affiliated?
The pool costs are gonna be whatever they've decided, Amrex has decided. As far as I know, they're still using Amrex for chlorine.
Okay. Electricity, you have actually lowered your ask for next year. I think you might be the only department that's done that. If you achieve this amazing saving.
Um. Well, we're looking at how it's been trending. One of the issues of producing less water is I need less pump. So I'm running smaller pumps. We actually have a brand new one. I've removed a 600 horsepower pump and motor that haven't worked in a while. I've just replaced it with a 450 horsepower pump and motor. It's just going to be cheaper right out the gate, and be more in line with what our current demand is in the city.
Are we making any moves to try and sell more water outside the city?
Every time that I've gone down that road, they've used us as a cudgel to knock down one of the other towns. It's tough. I can't compete with a well system. I have an entire filtration plant. I have processes. I have, baseline costs that are not going to budge. These other people, they turn on a well, turn on a little side pump, add a little couple of drops of chlorine and call it a day. Completely different methodology for treatment and incredibly less cost involved. So I have trouble competing with them. We'd love to.
Seems like they charge minimums per month regardless of how much water you're using and have all sorts of fees in some of our neighboring places. I can say from a constituent who moved from South Side to Johnson City that they are much less happy with their water situation.
I've talked about Johnson City for over 20 years. We'd love to take them over tomorrow. I'm even willing for a hostile takeover. It's a solid. It's not really a liquid.
Ooh, on the record.
They've heard me say that before. It's nothing new.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody else on the sort of water department? I have a 184, maybe this is more Chuck. These are annual transfers to the internal water capital fund, right? Nope, go ahead.
Yes, those would be the items in the capital improvement plan.
That's within their own fund, not the general, right?
Yes, these
These
are
are H.
Yeah, the general fund has their own, the sewer fund, water fund.
Right.
A question with the accounting services. It looks like you've gone over and you're estimating under for for next year's budget. It's it's on 167.
We're actually under by 2 cents.
$82.
Okay. Going back to the kind of the capital transfers. You have obviously internal accounts that you're using to upgrade meters, upgrade equipment, general equipment and rehab and stuff. Do we have a sort of larger capital plan? I know that we discussed much earlier in the year, some possible new filtration mandates coming and things. Do we have are we working on a plan for that? Other than
Always.
just
The base of the capital is to store money. And a lot of times, granted, this year I was curtailed a little bit on how much I requested versus how much they were willing to give me. I even pouted in the corner and they still didn't give me any more money. We have to build up for larger projects, and it's easier to do it over several years than attempt to hit us with one large project. I'm a stickler for doing smaller projects, breaking it up, trying to keep it in-house wherever we can. Once we go into a full-blown engineered project, they seem to get out of hand pretty fast. Your costs escalate pretty fast. You wind up doing more than you anticipated in the beginning. And these are the realities that I've seen over the years. When we can knock it down and keep it to controllable, smaller projects, we achieve exact goals that are targeted for usually longevity or, to alleviate an immediate problem. Just the philosophy behind it. And capital we build up year after year after year. So when something comes up, we have money set aside. I don't know how else to really do that with the constraints that I have.
Oh, were you gonna say something?
We have a couple other pages we have to open, some on capital and fees. So I was just seeing if there were any more questions on the departmental budgets.
I'll wait till the end for my question.
Okay, I was curious about we had the manual that was being made and kind of an outside guy coming in
Ron
and giving
Cobles.
some suggestions. I was curious if anything in the budget came out of suggestions made by the kind of outside consultant.
Not yet. Not yet. They're still in the process of putting together the O&M manual and working on some other mandated issues. It's gonna be an ongoing thing by the end of the year. We expect to have a little bit more towards that. And I'm sure by the first couple of months, when everything's said and done, we should have a pretty good roadmap of what they see. And then we can compare it to, all the things that we've been talking about and see exactly how we stand with what we're looking at for potential projects versus what they see. And we'll be able to judge from there where our priorities need to be going forward.
So basically the expectation is that once we get that new information, we'll have to be looking to post approval of the budget season,
There's a couple of expected things.
redealing with this.
A generator system at about 2 million is something that I know needs to be done. We currently have a generator system, but it's not capable of running 100% of the plant. I can run about 80% of the plant on the generator we currently have. That's how it was designed. That is going to be one of the large expenditures in the next year or two that I'll fight for. We will have to have it done. And it'll be an amazing thing to just have a generator that takes over for everything. We've always had to kind of pick and choose what we were going to run, how we were going to run it with the existing generator. To have something that can take over the entire plant and supply all of our electrical needs for all of our different processes is going to be a caveat, but that's a future project. And I can't say that it'll happen next year or the year after, but it'll definitely be one of the things the engineering company talks about. And it's already one of the things on my short list of items to do.
Thanks.
Does your, just my own question, does the sludge that goes to the sewage treatment plant, does that fluctuate annually, or is that based purely on like what you're pumping?
Yes.
Okay,
And-
just like, is it like,
What I'm pumping plus the condition of the river.
right,
If the river's filthy at that time, I'm going to create a lot more sludge. So even if I was down to pumping, half of a normal day, that amount of debris coming out of the river that I'm trying to filter out is going to be a huge additional amount of sludge.
what's the stuff that they hate to receive, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Any other general questions on the departmental budgets for water and sewer? All right, I'd like to open also page 224, the sewer and water capital allocations. So these are their annual, these are all, I think, annual items that you move the money over for, correct? This is equipment repair, pump stations, hardware, software, castings, equipment, water rehab, I think, yeah. And also, there are also fees on page 2, bottom of 232, 33, and 234 are all the water and sewer fees. So I would like to open those pages. And as we said before, we have no change in water rates this year. There is a new charge for hydrant permits. Would you like to explain those?
I'm increasing the fees for hydrant permits and I'm increasing the price per gallon. It's something we haven't done in quite a few years. There's 3 levels of permits. The first one, which is a short-term use. Say one of these contractors are coming to tear down a house, they're gonna need water for 2 or 3 days to spray on the project. So their permit's gonna be cheaper than, say, a highway project that's gonna be sprinkling water for, 3-4 months during the summer. So I addressed the permit to meet each of the requirements that we've seen over the years. And curtail it to each one.
With those, with like a longer term, do you also put a meter on the hydrant somehow?
We also have you have to have a backflow device to ensure water cannot come back into the system, and we have a meter. And we've been adapting the meters for either a large amount of flow or smaller meters for a couple of garden hoses running off of something. Because the larger meters tend not to gather that small amount of flow.
Okay.
We've changed the fee from inside user of $3.30 per unit to outside user of $4.95 per unit. That's the price change on that. And when we change the fee structure for bulk water tankers that come down to the plant and fill up in there. And we have 2 or 3 companies that get hundreds of loads each year. And they get in the water now for, depending on the size of the tank, it's going up to, I believe it was $60 it's between $10 and $60, depending on the size of the tank they're filling. And that's from between 5 and 40, it 10 and 60.
These people filling pools or? Oh,
Yes.
okay. And then we have a sewer increase of 25 cents per the first 500 and then 65 cents for every 100 after. Nobody likes to hear about a sewer increase, but here we are. What's our recent history of increases and what's driving the one this year?
Well, last year we did have a sewer increase and we're having to increase it this year. OSC considers the sewer fund, I guess, what's the word, sacred? Is that what you said? And in the past 3 years, they've called the former comptroller and said, you need to set up a loan because your sewer fund cannot pay back what the money that has been borrowing from the general fund. There's only one way to do that, and that's to increase rates. Now, we've been really fortunate to have refunds back from the joint sewer plant in recent years. So
That's taking chunks of it,
that
right?
helps. Well, that was due to the settlement that 1 year.
Right.
About $2.5 million. I don't anticipate that going forward. And it levels out about $600,000 every year. That's not going to pay back $2.5 million. So this is one step in paying back that loan or due from to the general fund. And if we can show OSC that we're making good effort in doing that, then I think the rate increases is nominal.
So we are, in fact, we have one fund paying another fund back.
Well, with the increased rates, yes.
Yes.
Among other things, like what we talked about earlier with the
rebates.
Getting back money from getting the receivables back money, because that's just cash we can pay back to general fund.
I don't know that we want to do this, but has there been any discussion of simply forgiving the loan essentially?
We cannot.
Cannot.
No, not with the sewer fund. We could for all the other funds. If the water fund, we could just wipe it away. We can't with sewer fund. It's sacred.
Okay. I don't know why, but I mean, obviously there's some legal reasoning behind that.
I'm
but
sure I can probably find out.
Okay. So this is what percentage increase? I can't do math at this hour.
Hold on a second. I got it on here somewhere.
It's all right. It is what it is.
It's like 6%. I don't have my calculator with me.
Any other thoughts, feelings, questions, concerns?
I was just gonna say, last year, the sewer first 500 cubic feet went up 75 cents, and every 100 cubic feet after went up 60 cents. They got last year's. Assuming that last year's budget.
Like the rate increase for the first 500 cubic feet, that affects everybody. And then the next rate increases the more higher use rate payers.
Okay. Are we perhaps ready for a motion?
I just had a quick question. I would just always wait till the end. Is there anything that you proposed in the budget or anything that you might need, that you didn't get?
No, I think I'm pretty happy with what we got.
Okay.
That I couldn't just fill up the capital lines with millions of dollars in each line. Is this one of those things I have to suffer through? It is, but other than that, I have some challenges ahead to maintain the budget, but I think we all do, and I think we're supposed to. So, yeah, I'm overall pretty happy.
And I don't know if this is like really your question or a Chuck question. I know I had some constituents call regarding like their water if they fall behind. Is there like a payment plan they can set up something like with the city or?
Yes, that's through the treasurer's office and
Okay.
corporation council.
Okay,
But there's a process. I can get it from the treasurer.
please, yeah, I'm not even informed about it. It just,
Yep, Councilman Kavanaugh and I can also help you with that. And I've sat through them.
You were in
I've
a
actually
couple
attended.
couple of those.
oh,
Yeah, we've been, Councilwoman Matavetsky and I've been looking into, since earlier this year, perhaps coming up with a standardized process that wouldn't require a actual like hearing, similar to how the county handles property tax payment plans. So I think that would be beneficial for
Yeah.
some residents. But anyway, something we're looking into legislatively. Now maybe there's a motion.
Did you want to bring back up the overtime aspect? No, we're just talking about that.
If you want to.
I'm good.
What page was it? Was it 160?
All right. So
162?
169, I believe.
160, yeah.
169.
All right, page 169. And make a motion to reduce line FX 8330.51900 by $4,000. So the line will be $30,000. That's the overtime line.
FX 8330. Okay. Is there a second?
a second.
Okay.
Wait, I had a question. Are we doing 172 also, or?
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe this is a good question out in terms of which overtime lines were the ones.
It'd have to be one at a time. So we're doing the line on 169 right now.
The motion.
So, right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Councilman Hotchkiss to reduce line FX 8330.51900 overtime from 34,000 down 4,000 to $30,000. Seconded by Councilman Middleton. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk call?
Well,
Oh,
I was gonna say, are we gonna get any blinking, any,
I'm good.
any?
No complaint.
okay.
All right.
Yes.
Councilmember Port,
They gave you a side eye. Okay.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Any other motions?
I'll make a motion to move pages 160 to 210 as amended. The water and sewer lines on page 224 and the water and sewer lines on page 232 and 234.
And 233. I think. Oh, it did. Okay. Okay, perhaps. Sorry, misheard.
Can
Right.
you repeat
So
it?
that's all the water and sewer fees on 232, 233, and 234. Capital lines on 224 for water and sewer. And the water fund pages 160 to 184 and the sewer fund 185 to 210. Motion by Councilman Costi. Is there a second?
As amended?
As amended. Is there a second? Will you say as amended?
I said it. You can replay
Okay.
the tape.
There we go. Is there a second?
I think the pause is because there's a question as to whether or not the 172 overtime is something we were going to be discussing or not.
Well, okay, so there's not a second yet. Okay, I don't see a second for the motion, so we will back to regular discussion. Any discussion or other motions?
Yep. On page 172, make a motion to reduce line FX 8340.51900. This is an overtime line from $60,000 to $55,000.
I'll second.
Okay, and by Councilwoman, sorry, Middleton, to reduce line X 8340.51900 overtime from $60,000 by $5,000 to $55,000.
We all look at water superintendent.
I object.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
Can you explain why, please? Sir?
This overtime, right now is currently being hammered with hydrant flushing. We have 3 periods during the year that we hydrant flush, which is an absolute necessity. Even more so nowadays with a smaller amount of flow going through the system. We need this hydrant flushing done more than ever before. We're spending additional time out there. And I don't want to have an overtime budget that falls short at 3 a.m. in the middle of the winter when we're trying to get something done and it turns into a nightmare project that started with a 4-hour job that turns into a 20-hour job, which is what happens more times than not.
And you feel like the $5,000 would make a difference?
I believe that if it's not there, it'll be the time that I'm going to desperately need it.
And I'll just add, if I could, Jeff, we're not adding a position to this section as we were to the other one, which I think was part of the reason why cutting overtime there made sense. There's no personnel changes here.
okay. Any other discussion on the motion?
I guess, is it just a lack of manpower, that this is all done in overtime, or do you also do this during regular hours, the mains flushing?
We attempt to do it during, main hours, and we do it in different areas. There's a lot of areas that don't want this kind of interruption. We have every school in the city, every hospital, every dentist office. Everybody kicks back if we're not off the grid and, behind the scene doing this. We've had that. fight
Laundromats don't
many
like it
times.
either.
So it's easier to do it a little after work, after the standard working hours. We don't have as much residential pushback. And it lets the guys focus on just hydrant flushing, the maintenance that's required during that time. And that part of the job, instead of trying to jam everything they're supposed to do on top of this.
Does this line also cover overtime for if like a main breaks overnight? Okay.
This is it. 8340 is the distribution department. Those are the guys that are out there at 3 a.m. with shovels trying to get the water going again. So that's the only reason that I would fight back on this one.
I think they were up in my district. I think it was Father's Day.
And that was one of those 4 or 5 hour jobs that turned into a 20-hour nightmare. We actually had to call in backup at one point. It happens. So that's why I safeguard this line a little bit tighter, because I know we're gonna go through it, and at the end of the year.
All right. I withdraw my motion.
Motion is withdrawn. Okay. Motion is withdrawn. Is there another motion on the floor?
I'll motion to move pages 160 through 210, the water and sewer lines on page 224, and the water and sewer fees on pages 232, 233, and 234 as amended.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Costi.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Matavetsky. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Okay, I made an omission earlier. We forgot to open page 234 to do the golf course fees. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Yes, Jeff, thank you. You can have a good evening. Thank you so much for presenting and being
It's
thorough
almost
and
midnight.
entertaining. Okay, good night. So I made an omission earlier. We did not approve the golf course fees. Mr. Stanton was his name. Strand, sorry. Mr. Strand discussed them and the slight increases for next year for the various greens fees. They're listed on page 234. I'd like to open page 234 and look at those, and hopefully there's a motion to do something with them. Yes, yeah.
Motion to adopt the fees on page 234 for the golf course.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Danny, would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 9:06 in the evening.
I
We
think
have.
there's a typo in the
Oh.
fees,
Oh,
honestly. There's a annual pass holder for junior high school and under. It's going from 425 to 5,255.
Yeah, kids shouldn't learn how to golf. You can put our foot down and stop this reckless behavior.
Oh, my goodness.
Is that,
I assume that's a typo. All right, so, yeah, I think we need to reopen the page. Reconsider, yeah.
Motion to reconsider. Page 234. As it relates to golf.
second?
All right, motion to reopen the golf items on page 234. Motion by Councilman Costi, second by Councilman Hotchkiss. All in favor of reopening?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, is there a motion? Oh, sorry, Chuck.
Do I need to give you the correct numbers?
Yes.
Yeah, just if you could correct line. Golf course in-season rates, annual pass holder, junior high school and under, 425 in 2024 to 5,255 in.
What's
proposed
the new
fee
number gonna be?
2025.
What's the-
Okay,
Right.
That line only.
okay, for the annual pass holder, junior high school and under, the adopted 24 was $425. And the proposed fee was 5,255. The proposed fee is $525.
They don't get a discount?
It's the same as the city employee rate, which is, I assume, discounted.
It
Yep.
is.
And it's cheaper than the college rate. It's cheaper than
Yep,
It's a
it's
huge-
520.
cheaper than the
discount
first
compared to the
responder rate. Cheaper than the senior rate.
Okay, so 525 we're looking at? Okay. Somebody want to make this motion?
I'd make a motion to amend the
Annual pass holder, junior high school.
annual pass holder junior high school and an under fee
Like proposed 5,000.
from the proposed 5,255 to $525.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hotchkiss, seconded by Council President Matavetsky. Will the clerk call a roll, please?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunn is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Okay. Good job,
Wait,
reopening.
now we need to vote on it as amended.
Oh, thank you. Now, is there a motion
Pass the pages.
to pass the whole page again?
I'll make a
Okay.
motion.
Councilman Middleton makes a
for the
motion
golf
to,
course funds.
Pass page
Okay.
234.
For 234
As
as amended.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Matavetsky. Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dunn is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
Okay, for the third time, it is 10 after 9. And we have a choice to make, folks. The mayor's office budget is left to go over tonight. Corporation Council pointed out that the next session is fairly light and we can probably add the mayor, but and Thursday, sorry, Thursday. So,
I'll
so,
be here, so whatever you guys would like to do.
That's fine.
all right, so, all right.
Motion to adjourn and move.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Do we have
might
to
as well do
separate it
formally. Motion to move the mayor's office budget review to the October 10th.
Second.
No, we probably don't, no.
Can we just
But-
make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah. So
We're
we're moving it. It is so ordered. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to adjourn by Councilwoman
Second.
Middleton, seconded by Councilwoman Matavetsky. All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone have a lovely evening. Thank you.